out of apartment 5B.
You're now tuned into the Apartment 5B podcast, where we chop it up about hip-hop, R&B, sports, love and life. Hosted by Kill.
It's gonna be a lot of slow singing and flower bringing if my burglar alarm starts ringing.
What's good? You are tuning in the Apartment 5B podcast hosted by your man Kel. I got my squad with me in effect as always. My little sis, P. What's going on, babe?
Not a whole lot, Kill, but it's a new squad, kind of. So I do want to kind of make sure everyone notices, because when I logged in, I was like, what? So yeah, but it's very dope to have everyone.
No doubt. We got my man Spence chopping up with us for the first time. What's good, Spence?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you, man.
Nah. For people watching, this is my guy from Philly. Anytime we have a live Apartment 5B in DC, he's there, always in the crowd to support. Just came through on Monday night for the National Hip Hop Museum's MC Monday Happy Hour with Trey Lee, Rel, JR, and everybody. So definitely shout out to Spence. I got my man AG from Hip Hop Talks. What's going on, fam?
What's good? Pleasure to be here again, man.
Oh, man, it's all love. And then we got my man Sean from Hip Hop Talks. What's going on?
What up, Queens? Get the money. You're...
Oh God, I love it, man. I love it. Y'all know me. Let's jump right into it. The funny thing about me is people have asked me on the timeline, Kill, how do y'all come up with the topics? Woo. The funny thing about me is I can come up with a topic about hip hop from anything. So one of my boys got at me and they was like, Kill, what's the ingredients to a real Philly cheesesteak? And I was like, well, number one, you don't call it a real Philly cheesesteak. It's just a cheesesteak. You can't go nowhere. Please don't ever come to Philly talking about I want to order a real Philly cheesesteak. You just want to order a cheesesteak. So we're going through the ingredients. I'm telling him about the Omarosa bread, which used to be a main staple. Now it's kind of the seeded rolls. And he was like, yo, so just one thing can throw everything off. I'm like, yeah. If you bring me a cheesesteak and it's not on an Omarosa or a seeded roll, I don't even want it, to be honest with you. Or I love fried onions. You know what I mean? You give me a cheesesteak without fried onions, I don't even want it. So it had me thinking, like, there are key ingredients that will throw a cheesesteak off. And people always ask me, Kill, like, can you get ketchup on a real Philly cheesesteak? I'm like, bro, get whatever the fuck you want. You want ketchup, mustard, whatever. If you're talking about what's the regular, that's something different. But I don't care nothing about that. If you like pickles, throw that shit on your cheesesteak. If you like whatever you like, throw it on there. So there's no right or wrong way of which you can get on a Philly cheesesteak, at least in my opinion. But I do know that there are things that can throw it off for me to not even want it. And it had me thinking, what are some of the things, the key ingredients that's missing in hip hop nowadays? You know what I mean? And what are those things? So that's what we're going to be chopping up about today. 5 or more things that are missing in hip hop and R&B that can throw things off. If you follow me for 8 seconds on Twitter, you should already know what one of mine is going to be. But P, ladies first, what's one of your picks?
Okay, the first one I'll go with is like concepts or similes. And what I mean by that is like when, you know, Common did I Used to Love Her, or Pac did Me and My Girlfriend, or you know, like Pharaoh with the Bullet series. Like there isn't, and I preface this by saying that maybe it's not done anymore. Maybe it's missing now because people, maybe MCs feel like it's been done. So like, what can they do? They're not trying to like reinvent the wheel or like whatever. But I just feel like it's also reflective of like thought process and like actually putting in some like actual thought behind what you're saying. And I just feel like that's really missing because that was very engaging. Like if you remember when we first heard I Used to Love Her, or any of like, you know, those kind of songs, we were like, what is he talking? Like, what are they getting at? And then when we find out or we realize, then we run it back and we're like, damn, that's pretty witty. That's clever. Like, it really shows quite a bit. And so I just feel like that's missing.
Yeah. Nah, that's a dope point. That's definitely a dope call. I didn't even think about that, but it's been a minute since I heard like something with an ill concept. Not saying it's not out there because it's 8 million MCs now, so I know somebody probably did it, but I just haven't heard it lately. Spence, AG, Sean, have y'all heard any concept songs lately?
I got one, J-Ski Burner Phone.
I haven't heard that. What's that joint about?
It's basically, if Nas did I Gave You Power, he does the same concept with a song with a burner phone, and which basically kind of shows somebody picking up a burner phone in the store and all the things this person is going through. And then there's actually a thing where a concept of should he drop the call or let the call go through because the situation about to go down. So it's a whole. Yeah,
that sounds dope. I had to write that down.
I have to write that one down too. I want to check that out.
He's actually under Conway's drum work.
Oh, okay.
J-Ski.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's dope. I've always loved a good concept because, like I said, man, so many people send me their music like, yo, Kill, tell me what you think, whatever. But if you give me a concept like that gets you to the front of the line automatically. Like, it gets you straight to the front of the line versus you just being like, I'm just spitting or whatever like that. AG and Sean, y'all had any joints that's relatively new that y'all heard?
Yeah. I mean, Nas did Beef off of KD.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Beef. Yeah, Beef was crazy.
Yeah. That was
for me, go ahead. My fault.
Go ahead, AG.
For me, I think this generation, no shade, but I think they lack a lot of creative writers. You know what I mean? Because Sean, you brought up Nas, and Nas is one of the best concept artists there is, period. But that's artists from previous era. Like I think these new era artists don't really take time to craft careful concepts like that. They don't value that type of writing as much. But somebody who is cut from that cloth of the 90s type MC that did it, my favorite concept recently is Sky Zoo with Record Store Day. I collect vinyl. Kill, I know you do. 88, I see some vinyl in the background. I think that is it in your background, but he just, if y'all haven't heard it, he tells a story. If y'all have ever been to a record store day, what I'm saying, it's a dope experience. Like, me and Sean, we collect sneakers. So, being online for sneakers is very similar to that. You'll be at the record store spot, there'll be hundreds of people waiting, to pick through their vinyls. And he talks about just meeting a shorty at the vinyl store, talking about different records that was going to come out or whatever, and the whole mystique around Record Store Day and what it is. So I think that's one of the dopest, most recent concept records I've heard.
All right, dope. Definitely got to tap into that. All right, y'all already know what my number one is going to be: drums. I don't know what is wrong with these producers. This laziness. One of my favorite MCs, Evidence, just dropped this new album. I'm like, yo, let me tap into this. First song, no drums. Second song, no drums. I'm like, come on, bro. Come on. We got to stop. Third song had drums, and then it just kept going with no drums. And I just really don't know. To me, this is the equivalent of how I talk about, I love the NBA. Spence, I'm right there with you. Love it. But I don't watch it as much anymore because the game is just played horribly. I mean, you'll have a fast break and a dude will pull up to shoot a three. Like, yo, you don't even go for the layup. Like and people will say that Steph Curry ruined the game, but my beef is Steph didn't ruin the game. He came in the game playing the game his way. What ruined the game was all the other coaches that allow players whose name ain't Steph Curry to shoot those shots. That's what ruined the game. So when people are like, yo, you hate drumless hip hop? No, I don't. I love when Rock Marciano does that. That was his shit. He was the Steph Curry. He was like, this is what I'm doing. Then Griselda got on it. And then once Griselda got on it, then everybody just got on it. Now, any type of Alchemist album I guarantee you, at least 70% of it is going to be drumless. And the number one thing that I really need to ask niggas is, where do y'all play this shit at? Like, you listen to it in your AirPods because you don't bang it in your car. I come from an era where you banged music. When your neighbors would bang on the wall, like, yo, turn the music down because your parents would be like, yo, turn the music. It's nothing. There's nothing to bang. So what are y'all listening to this shit in? Yeah. So I just think, and to me, it's just laziness. It's anybody can just loop up a song you could do it on your phone. You could just loop up anything and just rhyme over it. Like, to me, that's nothing. Back in the day, it was finding the sample and what drums go with that sample, and then what scratches we gonna put, or what. It was like crafting a beat, and I feel like now it's like niggas just make hot dogs. Like, that's all you're doing. Like, and don't get it twisted. A good hot dog is good every fucking now and then. I don't want to eat hot dogs every day. Like, I don't want to go to the game and buy 5 hot dogs. Like, that's the thing.
Wow,
You diversify that shit. You know what I mean? But, and that's what I feel. So I just feel like it's laziness. So that's my number one for hip hop. And then I got one for R&B. Where's the love? There's no love in this new music. You know, it just is. I joke with my kids all the time. What are y'all gonna get married to? What? Because I think Deion Cole had the joke like after 7, it's like, yo, I give you my heart. My love is a fountain. Like, and now it's like, I give you this dick. That's all I got. Like, that's it. So it's like, what are these kids gonna get married to? What is the first dance you're gonna dance with your husband off of? Because there's no love. And whenever I bring that up, everybody would always bring up, I think his name, I forgot the boy's name, it's a duet. It was like Caesar somebody, but it was the same song. Everybody was like, oh, that song, that. Dog, we grew up with crazy love songs. We were just talking last week about Jodeci. Like, even though they was the bad boys, it was still Forever My Lady. Like, yo, I got you pregnant and I'm gonna make you my girl. Now it's like, I got you pregnant, I don't know your name. Like, that's the Forever My Lady now. Like, it was Stay and Come and Talk to Me. BBD, When Will I See You Smile Again? Like, there was still love. And I just feel like there's no love in R&B no more. Not in the mainstream R&B. I'm sure if JR was here, I'm sure he would give me 8 unsigned people who, you know, are talking about love. But for the rest of us mere mortals, I just feel like there's no love. So what do y'all think? Is anybody, I know nobody hates the Drumless shit as much as I do, but are y'all good with it, tired of it, don't mind it? Spence?
For me, the Drumless stuff, it depends on the song. Because there's some artists that I like that might do the Drumless joint, and I'm cool with it. But I might not want to hear a whole album with it. Like, even when Pete Rock did a joint with Smoke Dizzer and Royce, that joint was fire. That joint was fire. You got a boy, I think he's from Chicago, Chris Crack. He does a lot of loop-type drum joints, and some of them joints is fire. So sometimes I just take what I like and put it on my playlist.
Right. And there are some songs, I'll give you a great example. Off of Swiss's album, the joint Echo with Nas, that I think Scratch did. It was on Swiss's album, but Scratch did it. And Scratch played the version with the drums, and it was like, yeah, that shit didn't need the drum. Now, keeping in mind, they could have been programmed a different way. So it's not just as simple as the way Scratch programmed the drums, it sounded better without it. So I'm 100% with you. Everything doesn't need it, but if you got 12 songs, I could do 3 or 4 without drums, but I still want the bulk to have some type of bang to it. Like, we were talking about how the difference between streaming and a CD. So when I play the Clips of CD in my whip, that shit bangs. Every song has drums, and when you stream it, it just sounds weaker. So I'm like, damn, this is with drums. What the fuck does a streaming without drums sound like? Like, now your speakers are just rattling because it's just bass. AG, Sean, what y'all think about the Drumless hip hop?
Sean, you want to go first?
Yeah, AJ, you got it.
Oh, okay. The Drumless stuff, like you said, Kill, the whip test, right? You know, we grew up with the whip test. You know what I'm saying? So the CD quality joints, they always banging the whip, and now streaming kind of dilutes that a little bit. But my biggest thing with the Drumless beats is artists who don't have good rap voices, it makes them sound more sleepy. You know what I mean? Because the drums is another element that adds a little bit of excitement to a track. So if your voice on the track is an instrument, so if your voice ain't the best and you're rhyming over this drumless loop, I'm about to fall asleep to this. You know what I mean? It's not exciting. So that's my biggest knock on the drumless stuff. And as far as your R&B take, me and Sean had this conversation on the phone a few weeks ago, and it was like, I don't know when the shift was when the R&B guys wanted to be the rappers so bad and the rappers wanted to sing and croon and do melodies all the time, but it's like they switched places, you know what I mean? So you're right. It's no more like love ballads, love songs. The R&B is just the cats trying to be rappers. So yeah, It's not dope. It's not a good look.
You know who you can blame for that? And I'm not joking. Drake. You can actually blame
Come out
Drake.
guns blazing all that.
No, and I am so serious, you guys. Like,
I am so
think about
it
it.
only took 14 minutes to get
Listen,
Drake in here somehow.
Because he is the reason why that has happened. And if you go back and think about it without, and I am trying, I know everyone always, Portia is going to say Drake, but if you think about it, I'm not wrong here. It is Drake. Drake is to blame for that because he was the one who tried to do both and did it poorly. And then everyone thought he has the formula, we're going to try and do it. And because he just made so much money from it. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
Well, maybe it was the Steph Curry syndrome. Maybe he did it okay, and then everybody else tried to do it afterwards.
I don't know if we could put it all on Drake, because we could kind of even go back to 50. We could go back to Ja. There have been rappers who were singing on their hooks before, because that was the whole knock on 50. Like, yo, you killed Ja for singing all the goddamn time.
Right.
Now on the second album, nigga, you singing the hook all the time. So there were people doing it before Drake, because there was a time where it would be like
entire albums.
Well, no. I'm not saying to the extent of Drake. Just keep in mind, I don't know everything. I'm just saying that 50 that was one of the beefs with him, was like, dog, because there was a time in hip hop where if you wanted a R&B hook, you got a singer. You got Yvette Michelle, or you got Mary J. Blige. You got someone, LL, got Boyz II Men to sing the hook, Nate Dogg. Then there came a point with the 50s and Ja Rules, it was like, fuck them. We don't need nobody to sing our hooks. We're going to sing our own hooks. So that started the shift. So I'm not saying Drake doesn't play a part, especially for this newer generation, but it's one of those things where somebody was like trying to give Drake credit for doing something niggas been doing for 20 years. You know what I mean? And it's like, no, people was doing that way before Drake. You're trying to kill Drake for something that people were doing before. He should be killed for it, but I don't know if it started with him. That's all I'm saying, P. You know, I don't disagree with you with Drake. I don't want that
I'm just
smoke.
saying you can
Been a
blame
long
him.
week.
I didn't say he pioneered it.
No, you're
I
right.
didn't say
You
he
can't blame
pioneered
him.
it. I just said you can blame him for it.
You can blame him, sure. Yeah. What's up with you? And then, Portia, I'm going to get back with you for the love, because anybody who watches this show know Portia's loves love. So we got to hear that. But Sean, what about you, bro?
No, I agree with the Drumless, stuff, because back when we were coming up, we would get that first CD, we're putting that in the whip. We riding around like we're the street team for that artist, especially for our favorite artists. We had like we're the street team, so we're playing it, like going through the mall, going through whatever Walmart parking lot, whatever you do. You know what I mean? You just playing it loud and you bumping that music, because back then it was like it was a feel, it was a vibration. And to AG's point, now you got so many different monotones right now going on, to the point where the lyrical dexterity is still there, but the knock is not there. And I always felt like music has to coexist with the beat and what you're saying. They have to be a perfect marriage. It got to be symbiotic, if you will, right? So if you're missing that one piece, it's a symbiotic piece to it, it throws everything else off. So now you got the Drumless thing happening. You don't have a knock, so you can't really put it in your car. So you can't really go around like, play it around, play it loud like you want to play it. You have to play it in the house. You got to play it in your headphones, because that's all the option that you have right now. So I do agree with you guys when it comes to the Drumless beats. As far as the love, I do agree. The love is gone. We don't have that anymore. You got everyone want to be toxic. Toxic is the new thing, right? So because they want to be toxic, they want to talk crazy. And because they're talking crazy, the love is diminished. So no one is talking about love anymore. They're talking about being toxic. Matter of fact, being toxic is like a badge of honor right now. Like if I'm toxic, I'm the one. Like you want me. And I think that goes back to the Future wave. The Future came out and was talking crazy to these women. And shout out to Portia, even Drake. Drake was on that kind of vibration as well, where he was like, I love you, but I don't love you. I love my bed more. He's talking crazy, right? So guys hear that stuff, and a whole generation is brought up under. And we have to keep in mind, we in a whole different generation right? We were that same generation that saw the 80s kind of started taking, the back seat to our 90s generation, if you will. So now we're in that generation. We're looking at these guys like, yo, you don't even know what love is. You're thinking that love is toxic and it doesn't equal to each other. So I think that's my feeling on it.
Right. Now, I love the whole thing you said about the symbiotic piece, because it's kind of back to cheesesteaks. You can have some great ribeye meat, but if you put it on a whack roll, it don't mesh the same. Like it's got to come together. So, and like you said, I used to always say it's about Derringer. Derringer was blessed to have two of the dopest MCs, in my opinion, who are walking the planet Earth with Conway and Benny. And even if you don't like West Side, his voice is so different that it still brings something to the table. So when you have those three, but when you try that same formula with an average MC, it's not gonna be able to do that because you don't have Conway or Benny on top of it. You know what I mean? Porsche, talk about love. What's missing with the R&B? What are you listening to now? New music, new love R&B.
I don't. I actually seriously do not listen to new R&B. I only listen to the lovey, I think you guys know. If everyone knows, I don't want to. Boys to Men.
Boys to Men. See, people watch the show.
Men, yeah, like Boys to Men and Allure and 112 and like Cupid, and those are. I love love, and those are heart melty. Like I want my R&B to be heart melty. I don't want to hear about, we're getting drunk and then we're gonna snort coke and then I'm gonna like shoot up heroin with you and then we're gonna see who passes out first and wakes up first, and like this thing is just disgusting and it's a turn off and it's like icky and all of the things. So yeah.
Yo, that's pretty spot on though. I ain't gonna hold you. Like,
right? It really is. Like, let's do this line real quick and then we'll see where the night takes us.
So I'm old school.
I'm sorry.
Old school.
I know. All right, Spence, what you got for your first thing that's missing, bro?
First thing I got missing is quality over quantity mind state. Because I think nowadays people put out so much music so fast and don't really concentrate on the quality of trying to put a piece together that we can live with, that we can grow with, that we can listen to, understand, break down certain songs, break down meanings, might teach you something. We're just like almost like filling the algorithms. I gotta put another album out. I gotta put another Lucy out. I gotta put another this out, and you don't get that feeling. And when we talk about songs or an album like Death Certificate, that took time for him to make. That it wasn't just something that he just went in the studio Monday, he came out Wednesday with. And we have a lot of that going on right now.
Right.
And then we got examples that you look at the clips. That took a while for them to put this album together. Yeah. They really crafted it, took their time. They didn't have actual loose songs. They said, this is going to be the song. This is how we're going to work it. You had Pharrell controlling, being the maestro of everything and putting it together. You look at somebody like a Kendrick. Whether you might not like every album, but he put the time and work into it. Right. It is, even if you don't even feel it, it is some type of quality. It just might not be for you. I got somebody like Brother Ali. I don't know if y'all familiar with Brother Ali.
Yeah.
Kill don't mess with Brother Ali.
What you talking about right here?
All right. There you go. Yeah.
Got everything within the arm's reach. It's crazy.
Yeah. He got to give me a reach out. But Brother Ali, he does the same thing. He puts out quality, takes his time, even has a message in there, spirituality. And I think that's some of the things that I think I got a lot of things that kind of blends together with missing that can kind of just, go hand in hand. And that's one of mine.
Nah, I mean, I think that's huge, bro. I remember this is probably back during the pandemic. I think Flea Lord was like dropping an album every month.
Yeah.
And he dropped
like 12.
Right. And I'm like, but are they good? You know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing. So I think that's where the mindset shifted to. Like, it's just more impressive to drop an album a month than if they're good or not. Like, it's almost like people don't care if they're good or not. It's just the feat is impressive to be able to do that. You know what I mean? So I think like that's the thing. We did an episode a long time ago with me and Ev, and it was called "Why Are We Speed Dating Hip Hop?" Like, why aren't we spending time with hip hop? Like, because that's the thing. And for me, I realized it was social media, because I feel like we got to hear a song, but what's more important than hearing a song is then reviewing and talking about the song on Twitter. So that means we got to listen to Ghostface tonight, because if we don't talk about it on Friday morning and Saturday, then by Monday, nobody's talking about it anymore.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So like for me, like I'll tell people I want to live with an album for 2 weeks. So when the clips dropped, that's all I was listening to for 2 weeks. That was it. Niggas like, yo, but what about the Alchemist and God, who was just dropped with? Freddie Gibbs joint. I'm like, I'll get to it. But niggas like, yo, but by the time you want to talk about it, we gonna be done talking about it. That's okay. I'm good with that. Like, that's okay. So I feel like that's the thing too. The listeners now are more hype. And my man Mills, shout out to my man Mills, he schooled me to this. He was like, yo, there's more anticipation for the album than when the album drops.
Yes.
We'll be talking about the album for 6 months. Oh man, Supreme Clientele 2, shit drop on Friday. By next Wednesday, it's like, okay, what's next? So we spent more time talking about the album than when the album actually got here, because all we really want to do is review it, get on Twitter, argue about it, it's dope, it's whack, it's this, it's that, and then 48 hours later, we on to the next. So you're 100% right. Ed Conway said this once. He said something like, I get paid $250K off of merch every time I drop a new album. Well, I mean, I guess if you're getting $250K off of merch and you need a new album to sell merch, I guess it only makes sense to drop 4 or 6 albums a year. You know what I mean? But again, like I tell people, you don't get People's Instinctives, Low End, and Midnight Marauders in a year. If Tribe Called Quest made 3 albums in a year, we don't get those 3 albums because there was growth. It was like, okay, I was in Linden, I've traveled the world, now I've traveled the world some more, I've seen some things, I did some digging, got new samples, got new equipment. So you got to see them grow. You don't get to see that with a lot of this music nowadays. So I totally agree with you, Spence, that the quality over quantity is crazy. I think Boldy is doing that now. I think Boldy dropped like 4 albums already this year. And I'm like, I mean, if that's impressive to you, I mean, cool. I mean, you know what I mean? Don't really mean shit to me, but you know, I'd rather take 1 great album every year than 5 okay albums in a 5-month span. But I know I'm the minority. AG, what you got for one of yours, bro?
Is it okay if I comment on Spencer's real quick?
Oh, yeah. No stuff.
The way my brain works, man, it's like that's one of the most major problems in hip hop, I believe. You know, the quantity over quality thing. And the way my brain is wired, I try to think of the root of the problem. And like you said, Spence, on the surface answer is like feeding the algorithm, because we're in a microwave society, like, what have you done for me lately type thing, right? But I think it could be a little bit deeper than that, because where we're in the digital age, if you think about when CDs was getting pressed up, like CDs, you can only fit 74 minutes on a CD or 80 minutes when they extended it, right? And they cost money to press those things up. It costs money to press cassettes up, vinyl, what have you. We're in the digital age where you can literally put out anything and everything you make. Whereas before, the label wasn't going to put everything out. So I think in present day, it's no cutting room floor. It's no auditing system. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, I made 5 tracks this weekend. Let's put it out and call it a project. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's no cutting room floor stuff. So I think that's part of the problem, where everything is so quick to the consumer just to be out there, versus when we were coming up, we had to wait on the album, like Spence said, to craft a whole cohesive project. So I think that might be the root of the problem too, just the age that we're in and physical media not being a thing anymore. So,
and I think with that, I think a lot of people feed the algorithm that, then they go on tour. They eat off of that. Every time, and that's another way they get money. That's another way another cash flow for them. So, I just put out 4 albums. I'm going to go out on tour real quick, get a quick bag, come back. I'll cook up some more later. Go back on tour another 6.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
I mean, but I think the goal is to not make great music. The goal is just to get this bag. So this bag means I have to put out the music, and like you said, to go tour, or like I said, sell the merch. The goal isn't that. AG, that's a great point, because like you said, when me and Vegas do stuff, we'll make like maybe 25 songs, and then we pick the best 12 to 14 that fit what we're trying to do with the project. And then the other 6 or 7 we may put out just as an extra, like an EP or something like that. Not that these songs are whack, but it just didn't fit what we were trying to make. But like you said, a lot of people nowadays, if they make 12 songs, those are the 12 songs that they put out, and then they don't even take the time to even name them. Like, them West Side Gunna name some shit Pyrex Pot. Like, it don't got the chorus, the chorus don't match up with nothing, you know, and then there's no track listing. Like I'll sit here and be like, all right, now we gotta start it off with this, and we gonna in the middle. Niggas just be like, yo, whatever way we recorded them, just put them out like that. So I agree with that too. So definitely,
no curation. But for one of mine, I'm glad you fellas brought up the clips. I personally miss groups in hip hop.
I got that too.
I got that.
If you think about it, the last group that made any impact in hip hop was the Migos, and they debuted a decade ago. I think it was 2015. And this Clips album, let's take the quality of the album out of it because it's a stellar album. I personally rated 4.5 mics, but it's like, let's take that away from a minute. I think the Clips in 2025 for a lot of people are a novelty item, you know, because granted it was a 16-year hiatus from their last album, but this era is not used to seeing groups like, oh wow, we get to hear two voices from two different MCs on the same album. In 2025, if two people come together for an album, it's a collab album. Two solo artists coming together to make a project. They didn't come into the game as a group. So I think it's kind of like when you go to the zoo and everybody's flocking around to see the animal that's not usually seen in the wild like that, you know, because they're a novelty, you know what I mean? So I think the Clips, it was a lot of, granted their promo run was crazy, but I think for a lot of people that weren't familiar with them coming up, they were more intrigued by the novelty of it. Like, wow, this is a group. Like, you know, I want to check them out because there's not that many groups making any noise in hip hop anymore. Even Griselda's more of a collective than a group. So I think, and I don't know if it's just cats don't want to break bread with each other or what, but that's something I wish we would get back to, is having dope groups in hip hop.
Yeah, I had that as one of mine too. I said, no one wants to split the money. That's number one. And then two, everybody wants to be the star. You know what I mean? Like, it got to a point where like you could just look at a group. You could look at Destiny's Child. You knew Beyonce was going solo. Like it wasn't even no like, oh well, no, she's going. It's just when. You know what I mean? And I know I didn't feel like that growing up. I didn't feel like watching New Edition in '86. Oh, Ralph going solo. Like that wasn't even part of my mindset. It was just you enjoy the group. You know what I mean? When Brand Nubians dropped, I wasn't like, oh, this nigga Poop, gonna go solo. Like, it just, you know what I mean? Whereas I think now, and people don't want to break bread. People want, you know, people off the rip, I'm the star, you know what I mean? And I think we've seen it, and it's funny you said Migos, because I was thinking Little Brother was the last group, but you're 100% right, it was Migos. But I think Little Brother was like that last of the horizon, at least for us boom bappers.
Right.
You know, that it was like Little Brother, and then you saw how that went. Like, and it's almost like the course of how it goes. The producer's gonna be over here, you know, making beats for mad people, getting money. Then the producer doesn't want to go on tour, you know, because the same thing happened with Slum. Dilla didn't want to go on tour like that. So the same way with Little Brother, Knife didn't want to go on tour. And then it's like, well, if you ain't gonna go on tour, then how you part of the group? And then it all falls apart. You know what I mean? So I don't even know how you would keep a group together nowadays. You know what I mean? You see how I struggle to keep Apartment 5B together. Porsche, I don't know why she ain't on strike right now. So it's a struggle to keep this shit together. And we don't make no money. So I can't even imagine if we always get in a bag. So, you know, I'm just joking, Porsche. Porsche doesn't go on strike too often. Anybody else with groups? Anybody else want to speak about groups or anything?
I had groups, but you guys kind of mentioned it all. And I actually also added collectives on there because I think collectives were pretty dope too. Just knowing that they were known as like, you know, they were a collective and they kind of banded together, but then they did things independently inside of that collective. That was pretty dope too. Just the concept of that. So like I'm thinking like Native Tongues. I'm thinking like Boot Camp Click. Like that kind of thing was very dope to me. So I added that into the group category.
That's dope. And when I think of collectives, like you said, AG outside of Griselda, I feel like you got people like, you got the Alchemist crew. Like if you fuck with Alchemist, like I'm listening to Evidence, I'm like, oh fuck, Boldy James. Okay. So I just now know that if Alchemist has anything to do with your album, Boldy is going to show up, Action Bronson may show up. But like Porsche said, it's not like it's a collective. It's not like there's a name for this crew. I know like Ransom, 38 Special, and Shay Noir kind of got a crew, but I don't even know if they got a name for that crew or whatever. It's just kind of like they run together. But like you said, P, it's not like there's a name. It's not like, oh, that's Griselda or yo, that's you know, whatever. So that's a great point. That's a great point. Sean, what you got for your first one, bro?
So mine is kind of twofold, because I think that it's the basis of what everyone was saying so far, and it's really intentionality and competitiveness. You know, if we think about the intention of an artist putting together a project, there was pride in that project. If you think about the times when we were looking at the golden era of hip hop, where the stakes were high, you couldn't afford to put out a bad project or put out something that was just subpar, because you had people breathing down your neck. You think about, you know, Big, Nas, you know, Jay, Pop, you know, Prodigy, Mobb Deep, you know, Wu. Everyone had to bring their A game because everyone was inspired by each other to do better than each other. So the intentionality was very strong there. So we got really great music during those times. So when you start looking at the field now, the competition has kind of like subsided, if you will. It's not, there's no one pushing each other to put out that product. And that's the same thing for R&B. If you think about R&B, when I was coming up, like for me, R&B and hip hop was like the roadmap to my life. I can remember where I was and what state of mind I was in based on what I was listening to during that time. And especially for R&B, I could tell you my emotions based on the actual record or based on the actual album. You think about 112, their first and second album, that one I was like on some like, yo, I need Shorty like real bad right now. I need some words to know how to say those words. So I need to listen to what Q is saying so I can go back and spit Q verses over the Shorty like, yo, I love you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know what this love thing feel like. So we learn how to talk to each other and how to converse with each other through music, because music was like our dictionary, if you will. It was like our book, right? Our book of life, because you learn based on what you're hearing. And now today, I can't recite a lyric from nobody, with the exception of Nas, of course, but I can't recite no one else's lyric. I can't tell you a bar from anyone today because the music doesn't have a lot of intention to it. The intentionality is not there. And I'll wrap it up with this. If you think about the periods of hip hop, the years of hip hop and R&B, think about the years in the hip hop and R&B where we had like so much to pull from. Like you think about 96, 97, 98, 94. Like I'm talking about years where you can say, man, that was a strong year for hip hop. That was a strong year for R&B. We don't have that anymore. We can't name the last year that you can say this was a strong year up and down. I'm not talking about just good music. I'm talking about like, yo, we had It's Dark and Hell Is Hot, Flesh of My Flesh. We had Nori, N-O-R-E. We had all of these things in 98. We had so much to pull from, and we don't have that anymore. So the options are limited at this point. We're stuck with one or two albums, and we are quick to call them a classic because that's all we have to go against. So you're fighting for the tallest little person, as opposed to saying, you know what, everybody are giants right now. So I'm getting everything. I'm drawing water from multiple wells right now. We don't have that anymore. So intentionality is lost.
Right. Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. And then just what you were saying about people pushing each other. You know what I mean? Like it was this thing on Evidence's new album. One thing I'll say about Evidence, some of his interludes are always dope. I don't know who the shorty is. I gotta find her. But she was talking about how artists make music. And, you know, artists will make music for their fans, like the bigger picture fans. You'll make it for the heads, and then you'll make it for your peers. You know what I mean? And that's what I think a huge part is missing. Like, I loved hearing stories of how Primo and RZA would be going back and forth, like, yo, I got this piano loop, I'm about to kill you with it. And he's talking about J. Rule's the original. And then RZA be like, nigga, I got a piano sample, it's gonna kill that shit, talking about Cream. And it was this friendly competition. There's no beef, but we want to push each other. I want RZA, when he hears this shit, for him to take the hat off and just be like, fuck this nigga Primo. Like, all right, let me get back in the lab. And, you know, it's like, it was that friendly competition where we don't have that anymore. And now if we do have competition, it's not friendly. Now it's deadly competition. Now, you know, niggas are fighting, so we can't even have friendly competition to be like, damn, okay, the boy Benny got me on that joint. I gotta come right on this next verse. Like, you don't have that, and if it does reap its head, then it turns violent. You know what I mean? So I agree with you hard on that. And then the reciting lyrics, to me, that goes back to Spence's thing about why we speed dating hip hop, and why are we going so fast? Because growing up in the 80s, that was the dopest thing you could do, was know the lyrics. For me to get on the school bus on Monday and be able to kick every word to Roxanne, I was the motherfucking man. You know what I mean? So that was the thing. Can you say all the rhymes to Ain't No Half Stepping? Can you say all the rhymes to Rob Bass, It Takes Two? There was something about that. And people tell me every day on Twitter, yo, OD, this my album of the year. Nigga, can you rhyme along with any song on it? Like, nah. Nigga, how's your album of the year? How's something gonna be the greatest album of this whole year and you can't rhyme along with it? Yo, when the Clips album came out, nigga, and Naomi will try to get me. She'll be like, Daddy, just look on Apple Music. You can see the words. I'm like, nah, nigga, I'm old school, nigga. I'm just listening over and over again. That's cheating right there. I don't do that shit. No, because when the Clip show comes, I want to be at that concert knowing every motherfucking word to every song. And that's the part that's missing nowadays. We can't get that because you're like, oh, this is my album of the year, and you only listen to it 5 times.
Right.
And then it's on to the next one. So, like you said, Sean, you can't even recite the lyrics. So, if you can't even recite the lyrics, how much do you love that? Yo, put on Beat Street right now. I'll act out that whole fucking movie for you, word for word. Put on Coming to America. Put on Boomerang. In my house, me, T, and they will be saying every word to the whole movie because it's a classic. Because we watched this so much. So if something's your album of the year, you gotta at least be able to rap along with one song. Like, you know what I mean? So great points, Sean. Definitely great points. P, what you got up next, babe?
My next one kind of goes with, I think, what Spence said, but I have it categorized as heart. And what I mean by that is like actual putting like emotion into the music and making it feel like something besides, except for I preface this by saying the Clips achieved that on their album, of course, because it was, the subject matter was kind of, it pulls on your heartstrings, obviously, talking about grief and that kind of thing. But outside of them, I don't know who like if there's really a lot of MCs that are doing that. And some examples that I want to kind of like mention to kind of emulate that would be Letter to Big by Jadakiss. All That I Got Is You by Ghostface. Beans, Feel It in the Air. Like there are not tracks like this anymore where you listen to it and you're like, holy, or Song Cry even. I'll even go with Song Cry, and that's like probably the least of the emotional ones out of the ones I mentioned. Or Dear Mama by Pac. Like we don't have real songs like that anymore that when you listen to it, you're like, really kind of, it really pulls on your heartstrings, and I miss that. And I think the reason why I say it kind of goes with what Spence was saying is because the quality's lacking, right? Like it's the quality that's lacking. And if people actually MCs put in time into that album, that track, and were again intentional about it, I think like Sean said, then it would come together, but it just doesn't.
Right. Yeah, I don't think anybody had the Clips making you tear up on a bingo list for 2025. Exactly. I think that was about the last right. group. And when you think about it, Pete, there may not be people who have gone through something like that where you lose your mom and dad back to back, but I don't know if there have been any rappers who have talked about losing their parents or losing anybody or dealing with that grief. And like you said, that stuff is there, but I think it may get lost in how you have a 3000 talking about what y'all want me to talk about, like having a colonoscopy. You know what I mean? Like, nah, bro, you could do like you did on Ye's album and talk about your mom passing away. Right. Like, you know what I mean? I know that verse. A lot of people really fuck with that verse.
Or talk about the colonoscopy, because I'm sure there's like 2 million other people that are dealing with the same thing. Like why is that? I don't know. I just feel like it's just missing.
I agree with you. I think it may be a skill thing because Fonte, I think, does an incredible job of that. On No News is Good News, he talks about expensive jeans and black men and getting their health right and getting divorced and burying his dad and going back to the repast and eating the same shit that killed them. Like, but
how
I think
long ago was that?
Oh man, that was 2000. I was laying around here somewhere, but it was a minute ago. At least probably maybe 10 years ago. Damn, has it been 10 years?
Close to maybe it. About 8 years ago.
But I think the thing is, it's the skill. Do you have the skill to be able to do that to be able, because it's not just, hey, my mom died. Like the clips didn't say, hey, my mom died and then my dad died 4 months later.
That's right.
They didn't just do that. They had to story tell it in a way that helped them deal with the grief and also have people be able to pull into it. Whereas if you don't have the skill to do that, then it's just like, oh yeah, my mom died, my brother found her, then my pop died, and then my brother found him too, and now we on tour. Like, go to the next track, bro. Like, so you got to have a certain level of skill. And we were talking about, Spence was in the house on Monday when we was talking with Trey Lee about, you know, being able to really, can these new MCs, can they even write an outline? Like, do they even, can a young boy MC like write an outline and Roman numeral 1 and then the number 1 and then ABC? Like, can they even construct what is a introduction, the body, the conclusion? Like, I've been working with kids for 25 years, y'all. I think we trying to put a little too much on this new generation. You know, No Child Left Behind left a lot of kids behind, you know, and that's really with the whole public school system. And y'all know me, that's a whole episode right there on that. But I think, Porsche, to your point, I think that's the piece. You got to have the skill to do that, you know.
But see, even back then, those MCs at that time, even if they was street guys, they read books, they studied, they had spirituality in them. So even if they dropped out of school, they still learned on their own. Somebody passed them something. You had an older guy, yo, read this book, read these lessons, do this. So they always had a thirst of knowledge. It might have been the school system, but they had a thirst of knowledge or trying to find knowledge itself. And that's when you got the expressions through the songs like the Brand Nubians and All for Ones and, you know, Nas with his stuff. So it was always there. Do these kids even have that these days? Do they even have the thirst for knowledge these days?
No.
Right. That's a point, because I don't think there's a thirst for that, because you think about, like, they got this thing called the omniscient point of view, or the omniscient spectrum, where the director is telling the story through the lens of their first character, right? And a lot of artists who write, I used to write a lot. When I first joined the Marine Corps, my first 10, 15 years, I used to write everything because I wanted to like give my point of view, what I was experiencing, no matter where I was, how I was feeling. I had to put it down on paper, I had to script it out. And I was giving my point of view, like my omniscient point of view. And artists, as a writer, they don't do that anymore because now it's a microwave effect. They're looking for the shock and awe, right? They're looking for, like, how can I say something that's going to be so shocking? Like Kill said earlier, the shout out to not West Side. West Side. Shout out to West Side. He has titles that has nothing to do with what's going on, right? He may just say a word like, you know, I got toast on EP. So he just, but that's all you get from it, right? And it's dope. Within itself is dope. But at the same time, you're still not getting the layer of introspection that can drive a connection. Because I can't connect to that as much as I can connect to someone who's giving me emotion, who's giving me something that they're going through. Like you said, the clips, the way they were able to script out what they were talking about from losing their parents, it was well spoken, well written. Because someone who lost a parent, me losing my father this year, I connected with that immediately. Like, those are the same emotions that I'm going through, but I might not can articulate that the way they articulate it because I'm still feeling it. But I needed someone to say it so it can justify my own emotion. And we don't have that anymore in hip hop or in R&B at all. We can't justify our own emotion or how we're feeling about the music.
All right. That's a dope point. I'm totally spaced out. Who just said that? Whose thing was that?
It was mine.
Was it
Porsche?
Porsche?
It was yours? Oh, all right. Cool. All right. My bad, P. It's been a week, y'all. Next one I got up. Positivity, man. That's what I miss in the music. I was going down a YouTube rabbit hole, and We All Are in the Same Gang was on Arsenio. And I was just like, wow. Like, all these West Coast gangbangers and everybody all getting on this song to talk about, like, let's stop the violence. Come on, y'all. We all in the same gang. We don't got to do this. We had self-destruction. Like, where is that? Like, where is that? I remember when we started Live from the Writer's Bench, maybe 11 years ago, And that was like our first episode. Like, who is the voice of the community? That was something, was the first episode of this whole podcast was where's the voice of the community 11 years ago? And 11 years later, I'm still saying, who is the voice of the community? You know, like we knew Pac, if Pac was alive, Pac would be talking right now. You know what I mean? Pac would be, Chuck D would be talking, you know, and I'm sure people are talking, but they're just not getting their voice magnified. But yeah, you know what I mean? When we think about Public Enemy, BDP, X-Clan, I mean, these were the dudes, Spence, like you just said, having the knowledge. I didn't like school at all, but listening to Chuck D had me reading Malcolm X Speaks, the autobiography of Malcolm X. It had me wanting to learn. You know, so even though, like you said, Spence, that's a great point, even though I don't want to read nothing that the school is making me read, I definitely want to read these books over here because rap had such an influence on me. Yo, I was talking about not eating meat because if KRS said it, I was like, let's do it. Like, let's go. Like, you know, I remember telling my pop, I want to be a social worker. Why? Because Scott LaRock is a social worker. I remember telling my pop, yo, I want to be a philosopher. Why? Because fucking KRS was the philosopher. I knew the game changed when I started working with my kids. And one of my kids told me in elementary school, he said, I want to be a pimp. I said, why? He said, because 50's a pimp. And I said, God damn, the game has changed. When I was a little short of your age, people were talking about being philosophers and doing positive shit. Now you want to be a pimp. You know what I mean? And it really just showed me from working with kids and listening to hip hop, like, damn, man, this is where we got to. So something that's definitely missing. P, you said you had positivity too?
I mean, I had pro-black, but it falls under the same sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else? Anything about the positivity missing or anything?
Yeah, I actually had teaching the youth, like through mine. And I know I grew up in the 80s, like KRS-One, BDP, you know, King Son Be Black, even YZ. I know you're a YZ boy. Yeah, the world is covered with snow. Like, you had these other elements along with Kid and Play that might have been fun. You had De La Soul. So you had all these different elements, and amongst that, you still had. There you go. There you go. Yeah. And even through all that, you still had an NWA. And even within that, with Ice Cube, you still had Gangsta, or you still had Strata Compton, where they was still dropping jewels within the song. So it was always there. But what is it? Is it that the system saw that gangster rap was, becoming a little more marketable, more money wise, and kind of shut that down, and then stop pushing the positivity? I mean, you seen the positivity on TV, wearing the HBCU t-shirts and hoodies and stuff like that. Yeah, poor righteous teachers. You had all these people dropping jewels, and we was loving it too.
Yeah,
you know what? I think. Oh, my fault.
No, you got it, AG. You got it.
I was just gonna say, I think everybody, touched on nice points. I think the problem with the lack of positivity, because we come from the era, listen more and talk less. In the social media age, everybody got a voice. You know what I'm saying? And Sean spoke to it earlier. People wear toxicity like a badge of honor. You know what I'm saying? And that's the antithesis of how we came up, right? Yeah. So, and Kill, you spoke to, listen to what KRS-One said, or listen to what Chuck D said. They were your OGs. You know what I'm saying? Look, they were older. And present day, we don't have I'm not gonna say we, but this era doesn't have the respect for the OGs that our era had. You know what I mean? You got Fabio Foreign out here acting like it's fly to say, like, I can't quote one Nas line. He act like that's fly to say that. That says more about you being a goofy than it does about like Nas being whack or whatever. Because there's no like respect there. And our rap legends, like I mentioned, Nas, he's gonna pay it forward. He's gonna pay homage to Rakim, doing a song about Rakim as his OG. And even the generation after that, Cole was doing songs about Nas and so on and so forth. Of course, you brought up Letter to Big by Jadakiss, paying homage. You know what I mean? So the respect is gone. So if there's no respect in this era of hip hop, like how can it be any kind of positivity coming from this era of hip hop? You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, good point. P, I know you gotta leave early, so why don't you give us another one real quick while you still got time?
I'm gonna say I have one category. I couldn't find a better word for it, but I said like reflection of like what's happening, like reflections of the world. And what I mean by that is podcast changes. We're going through a pandemic. People are posting the song Changes. Like, why don't we have, like, we've got MCs. Everybody's an MC. Every single person, like, honestly, is an MC with a studio in their home, and they're recording and they're putting out albums all the time, and nobody's actually talking about what's happening around the world. Wherever they're located, whether it's overseas, whether it's in the States, whether it's in, I mean, I'm not here to, encourage any Canadians to rap, because God knows we fail in every regard in that respect. But Canada, like, we're all experiencing things, and that is so relatable. Like the last album I know that did that was Tracy Lee's Glory album. And that was the last one that captured what we were going through during the pandemic, and that was in 2020. And we're in 2025, nothing. And the United States is in absolute chaos and crisis.
Bro, don't get me started on what's going on out here in
Middle
DC.
East is still going through what it goes through. We know. Ukraine is going through what they go through. Like, why is this not reflected in the music? That's what hip hop was. It started as being storytelling about what was going on around these communities. And that's what kind of attracted us into that, starting from literally the beginning. And so I just feel like that's missing. And I think that if a skilled MC could do that. And Tracy Lee, to me, he's a seasoned MC. He's from 97. It's no surprise to me that he's the one that was able to, knock it out of the park. But I wish that there was more MCs out of all the people who are shoving music down our throats, like, at least make something that's reflective of what we're all going through, because that's what hip hop was. And that's how hip hop started. Yeah.
I agree. I think a hard part is, again, most MCs don't want to get pushed outside their comfort zone. You know what I mean? Like, if what I do well is talk about shooting up the block, that's all I know how to talk about. You know what I mean? And I'm not even around other MCs to even be like, yo, bro, how you do that? You know what I mean? Like, or like, what's a better way to go about saying it like this? Like, everybody, like you said, at least back in the day, I think one of Ray's boys was saying, like, when he did his verse on Cream, his man was like, nah, that ain't it. That ain't it, bro. Like, rewrite it. So the version of Cream we got wasn't Ray's first attempt at that. You know what I mean? So, but if Ray just did that in his house, who's going to tell him that's not good? So now you put that out. So it's something about going back to being in the studio with each other, like, nah, bro, I think you could say that better, man. Say that again. Or, say it this way when you do like that. So I think you have a lot of MCs who may want to say it, but they don't know how to say it. And I think Sean brought up a great point where he was talking about writing. There's a lot of people, like, everybody up here knows how to write, right? But I'll have people call me like, yo, I got an idea for a script. Write this shit for me. It's not that my man can't write it. It's just that he knows that I'm a writer. You know what I mean? So, and if he wants to learn, then we can learn together. But I just think when we're asking, and I hate to keep sounding like, I just don't think these MCs nowadays have the depth to really go deep. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the problem. Like, like, I'm good in the pool up to about 6 feet. After 6 feet, nigga, nah. Like, you know what I mean? We grew up with niggas swimming in 15 feet. You know what I mean? Like, that wasn't shit. Like, diving off the diving board, doing wild shit. These MCs now can't go that deep anymore. And even the ones who would maybe even like to go deep, I don't know. How do you learn to be a better writer?
Study the greats. And that's not what they're willing to do.
Or the ones that do go deep, they're not highlighted.
There you go too.
I mean, Jay kind of said it himself. You know, I want to rhyme like common sense. You know, but so far, no, I ain't rhyming like common sense. So it's not a popular thing to do. And unfortunately, Portia, to your point, you know, although there are a lot of things going inside the world, all around the world, but that doesn't reflect what they're seeing in front of their face. And a lot of times they're speaking on what's in front of them, and they're speaking it from their angle. They're speaking it from an angle of, I want to talk about getting money and hoes. I want to talk about, you know, roll up on my ops. Because those things are cool, because I can get a quick TikTok video that's going to get 5 million looks and 5 million views, and people are going to reloop it, 5 seconds of it, and reloop it and make a dance out of it. So that's more important to them than addressing the ills of the world. You know what I mean? Back then, we had artists who had the ability to sprinkle the message inside the bottle and let us, you know, kind of catch it as we caught it. And now there's no reason for that. That's why the intentionality is lost, because they're not even trying to sprinkle a little bit of that knowledge in there for us to read it, right? Or for us to gravitate to it, because it's not important to them. So they're not going to make it important for us at all.
Right. It's a great point. It's a great point. Seems like a lot of these niggas, they don't get off the block. Then when they go on tour, they want to brag about going through the block of the city that they in. So it's like you in the hood in Philly, then you bragging about being in the hood in Atlanta, then you bragging about being in the hood in Chicago. You ain't, all you see is hood shit. So like you said, half these niggas here, P on some real shit, half the people don't really know what's going on in the world. Like if we just keep it
doesn't even have, like I said the world because we're all like kind of, we know,
right. But
your
I mean,
own community and your neighborhood. Like, Kill, you could, if you were a rapper, I'm sure you would be talking about all the things you see in a week or things you hear in a week. Like, that's what you're seeing. That's what you're doing. Like, reflect that in your music and let it be, like, talk about it. You know what I mean?
And I'm in no way trying to give somebody an excuse, but I think my job is really different because for somebody who's a banker, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's not going to see what I see every day. And like the average person who just has to pick up their kid from school, you don't understand how bad the schools are, you know? So I just happen to have a job where I see a lot of ill shit every day. So I would have a lot to say, but there's some people who have no idea. Even though I'm not in Philly, I still watch Philly news like I'm in Philly. And I'm heartbroken that everything that's Spence knows everything that's going on with SEPTA and the bus lines, and I'm sitting here in DC like, damn, how these kids gonna get to school on Monday, and yo, how these people gonna go to work on Monday, and da-da-da-da-da. You got people in Philly who don't know that shit is going on. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you got people out here in DC that's like, the National Guard's here, what's the big deal? It's like, what's the big deal, nigga? You ain't been seeing what's going on out. So you just have people who aren't tapped into what's going on because, like Sean was saying, they're just only paying attention to what's in front of their face. So
they're only paying attention to, like, when I hear new music come out, it's all about, I'm the best, I've got money, I've got a bunch of like gold, I've got a bunch of diamonds, I've got 50 million girls, I've got this car, I've got that crew, I've got this friend. Like, okay, and what? And like, what else? Like, okay, with all of that, you've got all these other things that are going on in your own neighborhood. Like, you're skilled to be talking about this. Why don't you talk about the actual, like, I don't know. I just feel like it's just lost the reflection of what's been going on around, but again, in to me, whatever capacity.
It all goes back to your goal. So we're both reading it, me and Portia both reading the Public Enemy book. So in reading this book, we're seeing how Chuck wants to get this message across. He feels like it's part of his mission of life to get this message across. That is his goal. I don't know if most of these MCs' goal is to do anything than to get this bag and prove I'm the best. So again, your goals dictate what you do. So that's the problem. So these, you know, after Scholar Rock died, you saw a change in KRS to become more of the teacher. You know, when he was on BDP, he was the blast master. You know, by any means, he's the teacher now. So Scott being killed shifted that for him. That's his goal. So these MCs are only doing what their goal is. And like Sean said, trying to help people understand what's going on right now with Medicaid getting cut and people losing SNAP benefits. How is that benefiting me? You know what I mean? Like, how is that? Am I getting any views from that? Probably not. Spence, you saw the young boy in Philly. Young boy was real positive. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
Positive as
yeah.
shit. And got murdered.
LG, the boy
Yeah.
LJ.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Real positive young boy. Like always spitting positive in his raps and you get murdered in your city. You
Yeah,
know what
his
I mean?
moniker was
So
like I think his voice of the youth. His moniker was.
yeah, real positive boy. So I don't know. I mean, I would love to see the reflection, but that is what it is. Y'all just give me one more minute with Porsche because she about to dip out. You got anything else, Porsche?
No, I don't. Everything else was actually mentioned. So yeah, I mean, we touched on all of it, even the beats. I even had production in there, but you mentioned it at the beginning. So
all right, keep rocking with SP until you gotta leave. Spence, what you got up next, bro?
I actually got executive producers. I think we're missing that. I think we're missing that heavy. You think about back in the day when Puff and Big was doing stuff. Big wanted to do straight hardcore. Puff was like, nah, we got to do this. We got to get the ladies. We got to get on radio. The things they had to do to try to promote the album. Big wanted just strictly street. So imagine if he didn't have that executive producer to help cultivate that album and to have an artist that can make a good album to make it into a great album.
Right.
You can think about Nas with the same thing. We all love Illmatic. But Steve Stout said, I can take you to the next level.
Right.
These are some of the things you need to do. And I can help you out with that. Executive producer. Help cultivate the album. Pick certain people. I'm going to get these producers to help you. Put a new sound on you. You can still do the stuff you want to do, but you got to do this too.
Right.
And I think some of the artists, like I have a Conway, for instance. I think Conway would benefit great from a great executive producer. Because if you ever listen to Conway doing his interviews and stuff, he wears his heart on his sleeve. He has a story. Mm-hmm. And I think executive producer, if he would slow down on making so many albums, you could have got something really great out of him.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I feel the same way. I'm from Philly. Meek. He has a great story. Mm-hmm. I think the first two albums, I really wasn't feeling like that. I think he didn't get it till like maybe the third or fourth album with Wins and Losses and Champions. But I think if he had a great executive producer to help get his story out, cultivate him, craft it, I think he'd have had something early. But nowadays, these kids, they don't even need they think they don't need a executive producer because they'll craft it up in the crib, and I'm gonna just push it out and let the world hear it.
Right.
And so that's what I have for that.
Nah, that's dope. Me and Pete always talk about the executive producer being missing. RZA. Wu-Tang is not Wu-Tang without RZA. Without RZA being the coach, it would have been 9 niggas rhyming on every song. You know what I mean? But it's RZA being like, nah, Ghost, you and Ray, you do this, and Meth, we gonna get you to do the chorus, and Dak, you come in here, and you needed that. Slaughterhouse, that was their problem. They didn't have an executive producer. Each rapper wanted to do 80 bars, and the fucking average Slaughterhouse song was like 9 minutes. Like, nigga, nobody wants to hear no 9-minute song. The beat ain't changed or nothing. We just, so I think, and to me, it goes back to money too, because it costs. You know what I mean? And I don't want to pay executive producers. So I don't want to pay, you gonna pick my beats, I can pick my own beats. You know what I mean? And because now we don't have the labels and it's not set up because it's either the A&R or the executive producer, because sometimes both kind of played similar roles. Like an A&R would help you, pick beats and do things like that. And since we don't have labels, now people are leaving it up to themselves to try to do that. And I know Search is like the technical executive producer of Illmatic. I always give it to Large Professor because it was Large Professor who was like, yo, Nas, I'm going to take you over here to Mount Vernon and hang out with my man Pete. Yo, I'm going to call my man Preem. I'm going to get my man Tip from over here. So even though it was technically Search, I felt like Large Pro was kind of like guiding Nas as like, yo, this would be, you should probably get something from over here. Like my man got some shit over here. And you're right, we don't have that anymore. So, I tell people it's the gift and curse of everybody being independent. Like, it's like living with your parents. When you live with your parents, you have rules to follow, but guess what? You probably ain't paying that much in rent. You're able to save money. That's like being on a major label, but you gotta listen to your parents' rules. Your mom may still want you in the crib, even though you're 45 at midnight. Like, that may just be Mom Duke's rules, and you gotta deal with it. Or you could be on your own and you gotta pay all your bills. That's like being on an indie label. You know what I mean? But if you want to be indie, then you gotta be the marketing department. You gotta be the A&R. You gotta do all that. You don't have no help. You know what I mean? For a lot of the MCs and a lot of music we came up on, those executive producers and those A&Rs really help those artists become those artists. You know, I know his name is shit right now, but I mean, without Puff, Jodeci may have came out trying to be like Church Boys, not coming out with Tim's on and they hadn't, and looking like they was from Brooklyn, not like they was from North Carolina. You know what I mean? You needed somebody to kind of give you that, and you're right, we don't have it no more. So, very dope point. Another dope point. AG, what you got, bro? You out, P? P, unmute yourself for a second.
Sorry, I was just saying bye, and I left you guys a message in the chat.
Yo, where can people get at you, P?
You know what? No, nobody wants to get at me. I'm behind the scenes. Like, don't worry about it.
But if you ever want to talk shit about Drake, just tag her. I'll make sure she gets all of it. So, yeah,
anytime. I'm always what Drake slander, Drake insults, Drake comments that are negative are always welcome on my TLs. Anytime. Okay, bye guys. Bye guys.
All right, have a good one.
You too. Bye guys.
Yeah, AG, what you got up next, bro?
Yo, Kill, you spoke to you know, like the MCs nowadays not knowing how to write. You know what I mean? And this is for my homie Iran Myers. You know, if you watch this one's for you. What we're missing in the game right now is the. Yeah, man, we got a Discord. We got a dope community, man, at Hip Hop Talks, man. Like, Aaron's one of the guys, man. We go back and forth all the time.
Aaron is crazy.
Oh my God, man.
Yeah, man. You should come holler at us at our Discord, Kill. But yeah, this is for him, man, because my bro harps on this so much. So Aaron, this is for you. The third verse in hip hop songs. You know what I mean? Kill, you spoke to it. The MCs nowadays are not literary writers. If you're writing a literary piece, you have your introduction, you have your body, and you have your closing, right? So the third verse was always the closing where you brought everything and tied it together. And that's missing in today's work. And unfortunately, even MCs that came up in the era of the third verse has to kind of conform to the modern way of doing things for more streams and stuff, making a song like 2 to 2.5 minutes. And, you know, then it's the lack of the third verse or whatever. So a lot of songs can sound incomplete and shit. Not even the third verse of it all. I miss beats playing out at the end of records, you know what I mean? Versus just transitioning to the next song, because that makes your album have to be that much more cohesive, because that blend from one track to the next, if a song is just ending and then going to the next, it can kind of sound a little bit choppy or whatever. So definitely missed the third verse on records and a little extra beat playing at the end, because we used to dub our tapes back in the day to freestyle over them joints.
We did.
Yeah. Nah, no doubt. And I mean, anybody, I've been on the third verse maybe 3 years ago. I did a whole third verse challenge on Twitter. And I put out a beat and I was like, yo, here's a beat, perfect storytelling type, John, do a third verse. I was like, I don't care how you do it. You want to make one long 48, you know what I mean, bars, just make it one whole verse. You want to do two, as long as it ends up at 48 bars, that's all I care about. And there's one cat who I think he said he went to school at Berkeley. He was like, yo, I guess he take a writing class at Berkeley. He's like, yo, this is the hardest assignment I've ever gotten, and I'm in class for this shit. You know, I'm like, damn, me just telling you to write a third verse is the hardest assignment that you've had, and you're in Berkeley School of Music. Like, for this, that's so crazy. They just because I get it, because at the end of the day, if you were in school and your teacher told you if you wrote 5 pages for this paper or 1 page for the paper, you're still going to get the same grade. Probably 95% of the class is just going to write 1 page. You know, you are going to have that one person. It's like, nah, fuck that. Like, I want to write the 5-page paper. But the average person is going to be like, if you let me get away with writing 1 page instead of 5 and I get the same grade, fuck it, I'm going to do it. What's the point of writing 5? Right. So the problem is that we allow this to happen. Like, we as fans, if we stop, and I don't know how these rappers make money. I'm assuming it's because it's not the stream, so it's got to be the merch. But if we just stop saying, yo, we're not buying no more Alchemist records until you start giving us drums, like, then that's how the change would come. You know what I mean? But as long as shit is selling out in the first, I remember when him and Freddie Gibbs put the Alfredo 2 vinyl up, I think the next day they were all sold out. So if niggas are like, how I'ma tell Alchemist add some drums? This nigga gonna be like, yo, Kill, you do know I just sold out of 10 different vinyls. I sold out a movie premiere in 2 hours. I'm on tour with Erykah Badu that sold out, like, and you want me to add drums? Like, nigga, come on. You know what I mean? So I also think it's just the laziness. You know what I mean? Spence was at again, MC Monday, we talked about this, and it was just, I think people are just lazy. People are just lazy. And you could get away with it, bro. We would go, and this is the difference, because we would have to go to the studio in the 90s. And either the engineer who was there or the old head who was in the room would be like, yo, where's the rest of the song? You could not leave the studio with no 2 verses. Like, nigga, what the fuck? Where's the rest of the song? The song's not done. Somebody would have been there to police that and say it's not done. But like, to Portia's point, when you just got a studio in your crib and you could just spit whatever you want to spit, who's there to police it?
Right.
And then when I drop it, if the fans are good with it, cool. Why sit here and go through another hour trying to come up with another verse? I could spend that hour starting on my next song.
Yep.
So, you know, you don't have nobody to police it. What you think, Sean?
No, I agree, man. Because again, it goes back to who's policing what. You know, typically in hip hop, it course corrects itself, right? Even when we went through the era. In 88, we had one of the best eras best times of hip hop in 88, right? But then things kind of got a little weird. You know, we had the Hammer era. Shout out to Hammer. You know, it served its purpose. You had the Vanilla Ice, you had the Hammer, and this is like right after, you know, the NWA movement and all of this stuff. And then you had this come up along. So hip hop still kind of course correct itself, because now you start having Wu-Tang coming out, right? Doggy Style came out. The Chronic came out after that. You know, Illmatic, of course. So it course correct itself. I think this is the longest length of time that hip hop hasn't corrected itself or course corrected itself, because no one has really, not a renaissance hasn't taken place to put it back in perspective. And this has been the longest period of time that we've had that. Never had that in a long time. So I think that's why we're kind of seeing what we're seeing now today, because it's happening in moments. Some of our OGs are representing. You got Common dropped the dope album last year. Nas, Clips. You know, we still have some things happening, but you don't have a renaissance that's changing the course of things as a unit. Whereas in the day, we had, you know, those renaissance that took form and changed the course of things. They got that whack stuff up out of here. Again, Hammer, he served his purpose. Shout out to Hammer. We were all, you know, doing the typewriter dance, whatever, right? The baggy, you know, the polka dots joints. And on West Virginia, that was a staple. So,
yeah, you funny shit.
So, but we course corrected.
Right. What you think, Spence?
Yo, he killed me with that polka dot jaw. Bro. Well, I don't know. I think right now,
hold on, Smith. I just had to cut in real quick. Sean got the notes, but he got the Hammer British Knights in one of those cases. If you look closely in the shoe collection, he got the Hammer British Knights behind him. But I digress. Go ahead, Smith.
Well, I don't know if everything can be course correct now, because I think now is so many outlets of people just doing music and have their freedom to do it. It's hard to reel it back in now. Where, like you said, back in the day, you actually had gatekeepers, I guess, in a sense, that can control certain stuff. Or you think about in 88. In 88, you might have had 25 albums came out that year. Tomorrow, you're going to have 25 albums come out tomorrow.
Right. You ain't right.
So it's kind of hard to now, even with, you think the Nas's, the Raekwons and all them, like you said, they're doing it in moments, but I think they're at the stage of at their legacy stage where they're not going to be able to do it. It has to be somebody new, fresh, that can cultivate and hit the crowd at such a hard capacity that it will happen. I don't think it's going to be able to happen with Eclipse or Nas, or because they had their time. Their time was what you said in the '90s, where they was able to do that.
It was a
They
renaissance.
had, yeah.
Yeah. And I think it goes back to something that you said, Spence. I mean, there's no quality. Like you said, a Kendrick album, Kendrick ain't doing this drumless shit. You know what I'm saying? J. Cole ain't really doing this drumless shit. You know, so even the people who are moving units, who are selling out stadiums, I just feel like it's this own little world of, you know, we don't have to really go deep no more. Like, we don't have to go deep. We don't. I think everything we're saying all ties in together. So whether it's going deep, whether it's the third verse, whether it's the no drums, whether it's laziness, like they all kind of mix together to make the ingredients of almost everything that's fucking what's wrong with the game right now.
Nice.
You know what I mean? So, Sean, what you got up next, bro?
I got soundtracks. We are missing the soundtracks, fellas.
Yep.
Remember back in the day when we had the dope soundtracks that set the tone for that artist to come up with their anticipation of their record. We had, I'm talking about R&B and hip hop soundtracks. You know what I mean? Above the Rim soundtrack, one of the best soundtracks that came out. And Death Row actually executive produced that joint. That was on a Death Row. You know, I remember we had, of course, Belly. You know, we had, let's go to Nutty Professor, Boomerang soundtrack, the Waiting of Exhale soundtrack. These soundtracks actually shaped everything to give you anticipation for that artist on that particular record label, because record labels are picking up these soundtracks early, like Rush Hour soundtrack. That was more so Jay's, like, yo, I'm about to ramp up. And he was doing that around the same time he was doing Volume 2, if I'm not mistaken, Volume 2.
Yep.
And it gave the Volume 2 an extra boost, because you have a song that's playing in the theater, you know what I mean, and on a promo run of a big movie. So it actually played hand in hand. So you had it, everyone had it in their living room. So it gave that extra boost. But without having the soundtrack, fellas, when you have like a collection, and it was like, you know, not a mixtape vibe, but actually well produced, executive produced album on the soundtrack, because you got Babyface, you got, you know, L.A. Reid, executive producing Waiting to Exhale, and you got some of the most timeless music on Waiting to Exhale soundtrack. Timeless, from a smorgasbord of some of your best artists out there on one cohesive album that paints a picture of a movie that is actually a dope movie as well. It's missing, fellas.
Nah, I agree with you, and it kind of goes back to AG's point of the cutting room floor, because so many of the songs that we would get, the Pete 1 in a Million, you know, the Tribe Hot Sex, like these were joints that may have been recorded for the album but didn't fit, and it's like, yo, you got a joint available, throw on the soundtrack, like hell yeah, take this Hot Sex joint. And like you said, a lot of those songs that we heard was dope. Tribe's Hot Sex was crazy when that dropped, you know, with the Boomerang soundtrack, or Boys in the Hood, Tony's Me and You, off of that, like, you know what I mean? So it's not even like the stuff we were getting on soundtracks. It's like, oh, they just throwaway tracks. Like, nah, nigga, these was some bangers on these soundtracks. You know what I mean? Right. But then it comes back to our black movies too, because we don't have those Dead Presidents anymore. We don't have those Jason lyrics. We don't have those soul foods. Now we just got Tyler Perry. And I don't even want to hear Tyler Perry soundtrack. So I don't even want that soundtrack. So it opens up the door of the bigger problems of, where are these black directors? Where are these black movies? You know, I think Black Panther probably was one of the people who had a last kind of like big soundtrack. I tell you what was another dope soundtrack that a lot of people didn't talk about. What was that cowboy movie that was Netflix with Idris Elba, Regina King?
That was the joint Jay-Z produced.
Yeah,
that
whatever that joint was, that soundtrack was dope. But a lot of people don't know about it because they just streaming now.
Right.
So you know, we saw it before because we see the video for Hot Sex. We're like, oh shit, that's in Boomerang. Then we saw the trailer for Boomerang. Then we went to see Boomerang. So that's the other part with these movies going straight to Netflix. You don't even see the trailer to even know it's a movie out. You know what I mean? Like, so all that promotion of leading up to it. The Harder They Fall. I think that was the name of it. The Harder They Fall.
It was,
yeah, but the problem is that I know people who never even saw that movie.
Exactly.
Like, because they didn't know it was out. So It's so much, man. It's so much. AG or Spencer, y'all have anything to say about soundtracks or anything?
I just agree 1,000%. You know what I mean? Echo the same sentiment. Sean hit that one, spot on. Definitely
Same
could
here.
use some dope curated soundtracks, man, because soundtracks will hold us over between albums that we were anticipating, So
Absolutely.
Yep. And
it
P
gives
Rock
you more
1
variety.
Million was like, yeah.
Because I think
P-Rock 1
Denzel just
Million
dropped a
came in
movie.
clutch.
Mhm.
Then
Yeah,
Denzel
Spike
Spike
Lee
Lee just dropping them. Is it the soundtrack for
Yeah.
that? Uh-uh.
No,
Probably not. Probably not. Because here's the thing. Who got the budget for the soundtrack now?
exactly.
Back in the day, the label would fight. Be like, we'll bid for that movie. Like, so the labels was fighting for it. We don't even got a budget for a soundtrack. Because here's the thing. I think the Spike and Denzel movie dropped in theaters, but then I think it's like on Apple TV like next Friday.
Right.
So again, you got these joints going straight to Netflix. So you're losing a lot of the budget that you would have had before. Just movies trying to break even now. You know what I mean?
That's a fact.
Unless people just gonna do the soundtrack for free just to help get their name out there, and we just said one of the goals is to get a bag, so free ain't part of the goal, so we ain't doing that shit.
Real quick, sorry,
What's up,
Kill,
AJ?
but the soundtracks wasn't even dope just for us to put on as an album. But if you go to see the film, the songs from the soundtrack help push the movie. It helped the weight of certain scenes. You know what I mean? It was like they went hand in hand. You know what I mean? Because if you take the music element away from particular scenes, they don't hit as hard. You know what I'm saying? So we just don't have that these days.
And I mean, like Sean brought up, I mean, you talking the Wait and Exhale soundtrack, you talking the Poetic Justice, the New Jack City, Do the Right Thing, the Love Jones soundtrack with the Max
Sunset Park,
the Juice soundtrack, the High School High soundtrack, White Men Can't Rap, Sunset Park, Soul in the Hole. Just so many soundtracks. The Jason's Lyrics soundtrack, like you said, Above the Rim. Just so many dope soundtracks that was out back in the day, and
the show soundtrack too. That was fire too.
Black Panther, in recent memory, Black Panther by TDE.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. Black Panther was probably the last big joint like that.
It was.
The next joint I had up was Originality. Like Master A said, there's a sign on the door, no biting allowed. Like, I feel like now everybody just bites. Like, whatever is dope, that's what I'm gonna jump on. You know what I mean? So whether it's the drumless hip hop, back in the day it was like you had to have your own style. But again, somebody in the studio was like, "Yo, why you sounding like Buckshot Shorty, nigga?" Like niggas would challenge you, like why you sound like that, or why you doing that style, or no, don't do that. Don't do that diggity stuff. Give that to Das. Like you had people who would kind of check each other, like in your crew, in your group, like. That's the thing, like going to the studio, I know in like 89, 90, like that was the be all to end all. That was the equivalent of getting like fucking courtside seats to the finals or something. Like you was dropping whatever. I don't care if you was about to get some ass, get some weed. Studio, oh, we there. Like I ain't never because people didn't have this in their rooms. Like there would be like one studio for like 5 neighborhoods. Like there was a rumor, I don't know if this is true, that said G was the only nigga in the Bronx with an SP 1200. Like one nigga in the whole borough with an SP 1200. Niggas was coming all the way from every borough to go to Queensbridge to see Marley. You know what I mean? So back in the day, you had it. And even though, and keep this in mind, the infamous My Melody session where Shan and Marley are like, yo, why you rapping like that, bro? You rapping too slow. Stop rapping like that. Give us some energy. And Rakim's like, nah, it's just how I rap. You know what I mean? Which was great for Rakim to say that and stick to his guns. But that's what I mean by, so for somebody watching who's like, well, who's in the studio telling you what to do? The producer would be. Like, the producer would be giving you feedback. You know what I mean? So, again, we don't have any feedback. So it's nobody gets, I mean, you know how West Side used to be with the boom, boom, boom and all the guns and shit like that. You got mad niggas doing that shit now. And nobody really saying shit about it. You know what I mean? Like, I love Rock sent some shots on that joint called Bebe's Kids. You know, just everybody biting his style. But it's like nobody says anything about it. Like I remember the first time I heard Reject 2 with Conway. First song, I was like, this is dope. Second song, I'm like, this is sounding real Rock Marcy-ish right here. There's the no drum shit. What's going on? And the third song is called Rex Ryan that has Rock Marcy on it. And I was like, oh, okay. So I was like, oh, okay. So they must be down with each other. Okay, so it's kind of like, okay, because I'm listening, I'm like, yeah, it's kind of like y'all biting Rock Marcy a little bit over here. You know what I mean? So I think that's the problem. Like, there just aren't any rules. You know what I mean? And I always say, a world with no rules is just anarchy. It's like that movie, The Purge. You know, if we didn't, you know, I don't run a stop sign because I don't want to get a ticket. I don't go 140 on 95 because I don't want to get a ticket. There are consequences, but if there were no consequences and you could just snuff anybody, you could just punch your boss and not get fired the next day, nigga, we be out here fucking each other up every day. You know what I mean? So without rules, you know, you knew, like, I remember when Light came out with Beat Biter because of Antoinette, because of Herbie using them Peace the President drums on I Got an Attitude. After Milk used them for Top Billing, and she came out with Beat Biter. And niggas in New York was like, yo, I'm not the Herb you looking for. Talking about Herbie Lovebug. Like, your name became dirt if you was a biter. Like, you know what I mean? Like, nowadays it's just like, whatever. Like, nobody cares anymore. Like, there aren't any rules to be followed. I remember when was it Rick Ross who was like, 50, when he was like, yo, I got pictures of Rick Ross, he really is CO, and 50 really thought that was gonna ruin Rick Ross' career. Nobody gave a fuck. Nobody cared. Nobody cared. When Gilly was like, yo, I got a picture of Baby kissing Lil Wayne, this is gonna end his career. Nobody cared. Yeah. And that's when I knew the game done changed. Because if you showed somebody in 1989 a picture of Eric B kissing Rakim, I don't give a fuck what that nigga wrote. It's a rap. It's a rap. It's over. I don't give a fuck. You wrote the fucking My Melody, Eric B's President, whatever. Nigga, bye. And nobody cared. You know what I mean? So the rules are just gone. So if nobody cares if you used to be a CO, and then niggas be lying like Rick Ross, like, no, I was never a CO. Nigga, hear the picture, like, oh damn, y'all called me. Like, you could have freaked it. Like, dog, hire me for your PR. I would have been like, yeah, I was a CO, but I was sneaking the coke in and out the prison. Boo. Like, this nigga straight up lied. I was like, nah, it wasn't me. Oh, yes, it is me. Okay, well, fuck it. Here, new album anyway. You know what I mean? And nobody cared.
But again,
you know, the rules are just there. So why be original? Because that's more work. I just think we're dealing with very lazy motherfuckers nowadays. So they're lazy on the beats. They're lazy with the third verse. They're lazy with going deep. They're lazy with being original. It's easier for me to just, like, you like what Stove God talks about? Fuck it. I'm going to talk about what Stove God talks about. You know what I mean? Y'all like people from Buffalo? Fuck it. I'm from Syracuse. Like, look at what Griselda did for Buffalo. 10 years ago, nobody wanted to be from upstate New York. That was a death sentence. You know what I mean? Now Stove Guys from fucking Syracuse, 38 Special from fucking another part of upstate New York. Nobody said shit about upstate New York our whole life. Nobody. Now all of a sudden it's the most dangerous place in the world. I'm not saying it wasn't the most dangerous place in the world before, but nigga, nobody can come out in 1995 and be like, I'm from Buffalo. I'm from Syracuse. You mean fucking Jim Boeheim, coach? Nigga, Syracuse? Like, it's black people up there? It's coke in Syracuse? Nigga, where Carmelo and them be at? Like, come on, man. So, Spence, what you got up next, bro?
I actually got artist development. I think that plays a big part of a lot of these artists these days. They feel like freelance and they can do what they want to do. Artist development, you put you on promo tours, help you, show you how to get through a tour, through the Chitlin circuit. Even you think about the Motown days of back in the 60s, they had artist development, they had writers classes, they had vocal classes. He put you through a whole regiment before he was ready to put you out into the world so they can hear you. And I think that's lacking too.
Right. But you know, again, that comes back to labels, because the key word you said is he wasn't going to put you out. So Barry Gordy wasn't going to put you out. AKA the president wasn't going to put you out. You know what I mean? If everybody got their own label nowadays, it's like being an entrepreneur. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm gonna put out whatever I put out. Like we said earlier, you make 5 songs, we put out 5 songs. That's the album. That's the EP. You know what I mean? So it comes back to, as much as people hated the gatekeepers, I think A&Rs in the heyday of hip hop were the ones who signing the dope groups. I think of a Dante Ross, who was signing Brand Nubians and Pete and CL Smooth and De La Soul and things like that. And now people just, anybody can rap. You know what I mean? And that was the thing in the 90s. Everybody couldn't rap. You know what I mean?
It's like it's like it doesn't feel special anymore.
Right.
Like when you saw Rod Kim or you saw Nas, you might say, I don't think I can rap like that. Or I can write like that. Or I got to work extra hard to get like that. These artists these days, not a lot, I'm not going to say all of them, but they don't think that way. They think they can I'm going to just throw out a 16 or I'm going to just hit it off the top of the head. I'm going to put it together. I'm going to throw it out and let the world hear. And that's that.
Right. But I mean, it's also deserved. Even for the teens that I work with, this generation don't feel like deserve means anything. You know what I mean? My man Shadi Luke, he's from Brooklyn. He would talk about how he had 3 brothers in his brownstone. And he was like, yo, I had to be the nicest MC in my house before I could go outside on my block and say I was an MC. So I already had to battle these 2 niggas over here before I could even, there were rules. And then I had to be the nicest MC in my neighborhood before I could go to other neighborhoods to say I was an MC.
You had to pay your dues.
Yeah, you had to pay your dues. Big Daddy Kane talks about how he once had to buy a microphone to try to get to, because the DJ in the block party wasn't gonna just hand you the mic. Like right. There were these steps that you have to take, and you have to. But this generation doesn't do that. My daughter was in a dance class when she was a shorty, and they didn't win. And my mom was like, "No, I'm gonna go buy a trophy anyway." And I was like, "Nah, you're not." Because if she really wants a trophy, then she gonna work her ass off harder next year to win the trophy. So we became a society where everybody gets a trophy. If there's 200 people in the spelling bee, guess what? All 200 get a trophy. You know what I mean? When I was growing up, nigga, only one person got a trophy. First place, second and third place got 2 ribbons. The other 59 motherfuckers go home and try harder next year. So we're dealing with a generation of people who would never push to be better, because if your goal was to get a trophy, I got the trophy coming in 50th place. So what's the goal of what's the point of me now trying to come in first place, because me and the first place person got the same shit? So
I mean, you got to think for. I didn't mean to cut you off, but you got to think we're kids that was outside. We're kids that was running around playing football, basketball. Right. We everything was a competition when we was outside. Mm-hmm. So they don't even come outside.
Right.
So they don't have that competition mentality in them.
Right. Nah, I agree. AG, what you got next, bro?
I'm gonna play off of what you just said, Spence, with the competition. I miss it when battles was just all about beats and rhymes and none of this weird BS like lawsuits and stan culture and who got the most followers and who got the most Spotify monthly listeners and all this dumb shit. Like, I just miss it when like, yo, who had the dopest diss record over the dopest beat, the best bars, what have you. It wasn't nothing, all this weird stuff in between. Like the Drake and Kendrick battle was cool until it wasn't. You know what I'm saying? That's why I still hold, I mean, it's the biggest battle, it's on the grandest scale. But for me, you know what I'm saying, and Kill, you might even take it further than that. But for me, the Jay-Z and Nas battle was the pinnacle of battle. Right. You know what I'm saying? That has to be number one, because that was for GOAT supremacy. It wasn't for a particular era. It was for like, you know what I'm saying, who's going to have the crown, not only for New York, but for like all time, rap supremacy. And the stakes are a little bit different nowadays. And then, it's just weird. Like, fans make it super weird. The participants in the battles make it super weird. And it's just like, it's just a 3-ring circus. You know what I'm saying? The J. Cole apology in front of everybody. Like, I don't know. I just miss it when battles are just straightforward beats and rhymes. Who let the people decide who came out on top, not who has the loudest fan base or whatever, man. It's real corny now.
Nah, I agree with you 100%, bro. J. Cole just got off his year punishment from me because I was like, nigga, you can't rap for a fucking year. Nigga, you apologize in a rap battle? Oh, nigga, Nigga, you on punishment till April 4th, 2025. Don't drop shit. Don't say shit. I don't want to hear shit. Cause you was every bar you was the nastiest MC, and niggas don't want it with Cole, and then nigga want it with Cole, and now you want to apologize. Nah, nigga, we don't do that. But nah, I agree with you, man. Like you said, the battle was cool until it wasn't, man. And I miss when you lost, nigga, you may disappear. Like after Shan lost that battle, it was a wrap for MC Shan. And people, Sean, I'm sure you've heard this. Shan's second album is a dope ass album. This is 1988 Marley Marl producing. This is the same Marley who's doing Long Live the Cane and fucking Business album.
Right.
That second Shan album, I pioneered this. There's some bangers on that album, but after he lost to KRS, nobody wanted to hear that shit. Antoinette, I Got an Attitude, one of my favorite hip hop songs ever. After Light was done with her, nobody wanted to hear Antoinette no more. Like, there was a time when you lost the battle, nigga, the stakes were that high. Your career was damn near on the line.
Yeah.
You know? And it was with the Jay and Nas battle, like you said, that's like Jay lost. It was like, yeah, who cares I lost? I just signed Nas to Def Jam, so who really won? Like, it's like, no, nigga, that ain't how the game is played, nigga. Right. Like, you know what I mean? So I just think the stakes, just like you said, it's not about who actually has better bars. I remember when Cassidy and Meek was beefing, and niggas like, kill, who you think will win? I was like, well, if Meek pulls up with a Wraith with two bad bitches, he won already. Mm-hmm. Like, we don't even got to have the battle. Nobody even got to spit. He's already won just pulling up because he got a Wraith, and Cassidy pulled up in a Benz. So there you go.
And that's the big misconception a lot of people have, because Jay didn't even sign Nas to Def Jam. It was L.A. Reid. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of people was running with that narrative because it made Jay look like he came out better on the other end.
I had no idea. It looked like Jay signed Nas, so all the Jay stands was like, oh nah, he ain't lose because who really lost? Now Jay his master now. Like Jay owns Nas.
Nah, so that was all L.A. Reid.
Yeah, so I agree with you wholeheartedly, man. Good old fashioned battles that just stayed on wax too. You know what I mean? Yeah. Sean, what you got up next, bro?
Mine is carryover. And I want to explain that a little bit further. We don't have carryover anymore. And what I mean by that, AG and I always have this conversation behind the scenes where we talk about how an album has so much legs that it carry over into the next year. And we don't have that anymore. Like, it's hard for me to even tell you what happened last year with music, like what came out last year. I'm listening to this shit, right? We talk about 88 a lot. Think about what came out in 88 and we started playing up until like maybe 1990 because it has so much legs. We still go back to it. Even I think about my formative years when I'm listening to It Was Written, 96, and how it carried over until we got to I Am, right? It was a bridge. We don't have a bridge anymore. And even with Jay, you got to give Jay credit. Jay was dropping albums every single year in the late 90s and to the early 2000s. He had phenomenal carryover. Because he had the carryover, he had a single that led into the next single of his new album. So now you're still sitting with Volume 2, but here comes Volume 3. And Volume 3 has a banger single coming out for his first single. And Volume 3 going into the Dynasty. Dynasty has another banger, right? So now you have like so much carryover, you got so many legs on these albums that they resonate with you a little bit more. In today's hip hop, we're missing that. We don't have anything that have true legs. Like, are you listening to anything from last year into this year? And are you even listening to anything that came out earlier this year? Are you still listening to it? It's not sticking to your ribs. Back then, the music stick to our ribs. We know the lyrics, we know the story behind it. AG and I used to always talk about how we open up the pack and reading the lyrics in the pack and reading who you giving shout out to, because it meant something to us. It had legs. Now it's like we consume it at 12 a.m. and midnight, and we might listen to it again over the weekend, but by next week I might be good. It's not sticking to the ribs anymore.
I love this, but let me ask you a couple of questions. Do you think it's the music, or do you think it's because so much more music comes out? So like Spence said, if you look at 88 and if only 25 albums comes out, and then you look at 2024 and 158 albums came out, You know what I mean? Would like I don't know if we're still listening to Great Adventures of Slick Rick as much as we did in '88 if 158 albums came out, because it's almost like I only have but so much to choose from. So Slick Rick came out and nobody watching, these are not real dates. I'm just throwing shit out. So if Slick Rick came out in January, K may not come out until fucking April. So that means I can kind of live with Slick Rick. And because in the 80s, we were dealing with a lot of 12-inch singles. So even though a 12-inch single may have dropped here, I would have had time is the music. But I also think, too, it's because if people don't buy, I think not buying music also affects the way people digest it.
You don't appreciate it.
So you don't appreciate it. So I can tell you I'm still banging this from last year. Jake and Free One's The Stimulus Package, too. But as you can see, I copped it. I'm still banging the Common album from last year. But again, as you can see, I've copped it. I'm banging the Marsha album from last year that literally came and went. You talk about an album coming and go. Niggas was dying for this Marsha Ambrosius album. Came out with Dr. Dre. Incredible album. And I swear this left in a minute. I know nobody likes this album. I know I'm the only human soul, and we're going to do a whole show about this. Not Doggy Style. Missionary. I know I'm the only person who liked the album. I'm good with that. But yeah, I know I am. Trust me, I know. It's me and Snoop and Dre. And Dre don't even like it no more. So, but I'm saying that to say that I just wonder, is it that the music isn't music that's good enough, or just because it's so much, you don't have time to really enjoy it? It's kind of like how some people back in the day when I was broke, we used to go and Corral was like the shit. Like back in college, like that was the shit. Like we gonna eat all you can eat. I don't like all you can eat shit now. You know what I mean? I like to sit there, wait, make my steak, serve it to me. I'll take my time. And I just feel like it's like listening to music now. It's like going to the crowd. Somebody's just always throwing. Like imagine instead of having to get up to go get the food, if every 5 minutes a waitress just put another plate in front of you, just kept putting another plate in front of you. Like the steak may be good, but shit, now I got to eat the bread and I got to eat all the other stuff. So do you think it's the music or it could be a mixture of both? It could be a mixture of both, because if 150 albums did come out last year, probably only 20 of them probably would stick to you. So then the majority still doesn't.
So that's I'm sorry, AG. That's a great point. But let me throw this back at you. 1996, just a couple of albums that came out that will consume you. Pause. All Eyes on Me, Anti-Aliens, Reasonable Doubt, Hell on Earth, It Was Written, Philadelphia Halftime, shout out to Spence, Stakes is High, The Score, Muddy Waters, 7 Day Theory, Don Illuminati by Tupac, and you also, and that's just to name a couple right there on top of that. Like this, I'm looking at it right now. The Coming, Il Nana, that's 96. So you're talking crazy about heavyweight albums, right?
Yeah.
That's not even a 20 pack. I'm talking about heavyweight albums that you have to consume because you have to. They deserve your attention, right? As opposed to everything that we're talking about now, what we're hearing for like over the weekend, and we're done. You're not listening to even the Il Nana over the weekend and be like, I'm done with that. No, I got to listen to that some more. It's in my rotation now. Right.
Well, I think that's a good point, Sean, because we did consume a lot. I remember going to the record store and it's like 5 CDs out at one time that I want, but I can only had enough money to budget to cop 3. So we still had a lot of quantity back in the day. So my personal answer might be different from the overarching answer, but to me, it goes back to what you were saying, Sean, is no intentionality there. I think we live in this like big ass gray area where people release quote unquote projects. We don't compartmentalize no more. You can't delineate what's an EP, what's an album, what's a mixtape. Everything is just a project. Whereas when we were coming up, we knew if they dropped a 5-pack EP, like, okay, this is a teaser to get us prepped for the album. So let me live with this for a little bit. And then the album served a greater purpose. It's like getting the appetizer before the entree. You know what I'm saying? The main course of the meal. And then the mixtapes, mixtapes now is like all original music. People are putting it out for streaming, consumption to make money off of it. We was coming up with mixtapes. They were, people rhyming over other people's beats, you know what I mean, to get you prepped for their project coming. It was like a primer, if you will. So it's like, I think now where we're in this gray area where people just putting stuff out, just throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. We're not compartmentalizing what's the magnum opus piece that we're supposed to live with and sit with. You know what I mean? Because they're just throwing out anything and everything and calling it like, here, take this project. Well, I mean, is it the EP? Is it your album? Is it your mixtape? Like, you know what I mean? Spence, you talked about that with Conway. Like, you know what I mean? If he would have held off on like 8 or 9 of these other projects and just curated like one great album with the best songs from each of those projects, he'd probably have something special. That's my answer to it.
No. I think that's dope. Spence, what you think, man?
Well, I think sometimes, like me, I listen to like a lot of underground stuff. Like I listen to a certain podcast that play underground stuff, and there's none of the stuff that's like, I guess, considered mainstream or people know. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes it get actually so much music comes out. Sometimes I feel like I'm overwhelmed now. Because before, I was like, damn, I used to want music all the time. Then I'm like, yo, y'all got to slow down. I can't keep up. I can't keep up with all this stuff. Somebody, you just came out with something else, or you just came out with something else, and like how? Yeah. And one of my things I had for me is living with albums. Like we don't live with albums. Like we used to live with them. I live with Dust Certificate. I live with Ultramagnetic. I live with Jungle Brothers. I live with It Was Written. I live with these albums. I went back to them time and time again. But now people throw like 7 projects out in 1 year. How am I going to live with all 7 projects? I'm not even getting a chance to consume the second one.
Right.
But the quality's not there a lot of times.
That's
again?
The quality's not there a lot of times. Yeah. I mean, we just talked about Nas put out 6 albums in 3 years, but they were quality. And if you're able to do that, then that's a different thing. But if you're just like releasing a bunch of stuff and it's all mid quality, then it's for what? You know what I mean? But the ones that are quality, that's releasing at a high clip, like Sean said, Jay was dropping every year. But we was dialed into it because he was dropping quality records or whatever. So if the quality ain't there, then, why keep dropping project after project after project?
Right. I think the other thing, too, is I was looking at 96. And I know these dates ain't really that far apart. But February 13th, Pac dropped and the Fugees dropped. So that was 2 dope albums on the same day. March, Busta drops. Then it's quiet till June. June 18th, Helter Skelter dropped. So from March, April, May, June. So for 4 months, nobody dropped nothing in 96. So we actually did have some time. And I don't want to say nobody because the people dropped, but I'm just saying important people.
Yeah.
The next thing was July 2nd, Stakes is High. Then July 30th, Tribe dropped, Beats, Rhymes, and Life. Then August 27th, Outkast dropped, ATL Ends. Then September 24th, Illadelph dropped. Then October 29th, Iron Man dropped. So at least we're getting a month in between. So even if it's not a lot, yeah.
Oh, my fault. I'm not to cut you off, but like also in there was It Was Written was July 2nd, and the week before that was Reasonable Doubt. So they was grouped in with that too.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm bugging.
Yeah.
I didn't even see that in these things.
Yeah, so it was still a lot going on.
Right. Right.
Kill, even to that point, Kill, think about the carryover for 95. We're still listening to
I'm not. I wasn't saying. I'm just saying. But it goes back to like what Spence said. 25 albums could literally drop tonight, which I'm just like, why?
Right.
Why is 25 albums dropping in one night? And like you said, AG, is it a mixtape? I remember when Conway, he was like, oh, my first debut album is coming on Shady. And I'm like, wait a second, nigga, what about Rejects 2 and GOAT?
The 18 other
I brought all these shits. Like, nigga, I was at every Griselda show in DC and brought all these albums, and now you telling me they wasn't albums? Like, so again, it's almost like, but I do agree because everything that we're naming here, Sean, all were incredible albums. I'm just trying to figure out in my head, like, what was it? Like, why was it that we were able to just live with these albums no matter what? But again, I guess it's just these are all incredible albums. Like, as much as I love this Common album, I don't know if I can be like, it's going to be one of the greatest albums of all time. Whereas a lot of these albums in this year, 96, you could say AT Aliens could be one of the greatest albums of all time. You know, or The Score could be one of the greatest hip hop albums of all time. So, yeah, I guess it goes back to the quality too. Last thing I got for R&B is the bridge. Me and JR always talk about what happened to the bridges in R&B. Now, for somebody who's watching who may be young, maybe like, Hill, what is a bridge? That is the part that comes after the second verse of the chorus. You go into a bridge that then brings you back into the chorus. So it's almost like a third verse, but it changes some dope bridges that I love. Faves, soon as I get home from work. Not as soon as I get home from work. I'm mixing Babyface and Face together. As soon as I get home. So if somebody doesn't understand a good bridge, go listen to that. Another one I love, Cases, Happily Ever After. One of my favorite bridges. Brew Hills, Beauty. That bridge is incredible too. So those are just 3 songs that y'all could go back and listen to if you don't understand what a bridge is. And go on YouTube and check out Sean Stockman's podcast. He did a whole interview with Jimmy Jam from Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis about why there are no bridges in R&B. So that's definitely something that I feel like is really missing R&B. And if anybody out there, like I said, who doesn't know it, check out those 3 songs. Check out that podcast with Sean Stockman and Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis from Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. And you will all understand what a bridge is, why a bridge is so important. Tap in with JR and Elise and the R&B reps. They talk about it all the time. So that was the last joint I had for that. Spence, what you got left, bro?
I got artists in the studio together working, putting stuff together. Because I feel like you get a camaraderie. Y'all build something. Mm-hmm. You ever heard the story between Nas and Nori, how they did Body in the Trunk? They came up with that in the studio, just playing. They heard Jungle talking about Body in the Trunk, Body in the Trunk. They stole it, and then they just put a song together and jack their whole joint up. If they wasn't in the studio, somebody, you wouldn't have been in the studio. Somebody just sent a verse, you sent another verse. Might not be the same. That chemistry might not be the same. That energy might not be the same. Look at Nas and Hit Boy in the studio together, putting stuff together. Their first album, they was figuring it out, and then you see the progression as every album came. They figured it out, put it together. They see what works, see what doesn't work. He's telling Nas, "Nah, switch this flow up. No, say it like this. No, do it like this. No, I like that sound." These are all the things that you get within the studio together, and you get that energy, and that's that feeling that a fan might get through the music.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's a part that's really missing in music.
Nah, I agree wholeheartedly. Like I said with the Ray piece, if your man ain't in the studio with you to say, nah, that ain't it. You know what I mean? Like, and it's funny because being a producer, I always joke that MCs are the most sensitive niggas in the fucking world, man. Like, I could send you 50 beats and you pick 3, which basically means you ain't like 47. And I just gotta live with that. But if I be like, yo, can you change that word? Yo, motherfucker, nah, nigga, you trying to mess up my scribes, nigga. Like, nigga, I can't tell you to change a word. Like,
that's what producing is.
Right, like that's the point of it. Like, nigga, I'm not saying it in a bad way. I'm saying it to make the best product available. You know what I mean? Right. So, again, without people being in the studio, and like you said, Spence, or someone said earlier, with us all having studios in our house, it's kind of like you've eliminated anybody, unless your wife or your children or your rap coach. You know what I mean? You're basically whatever you spit and you send out to somebody is what it's gonna be. You know what I mean? So I remember seeing something with Pharrell in the clips talking about, I think it was either Nas. I guess either Nas or who else was a guest artist on this joint?
Stove and Kendrick.
And Kendrick. They were saying how they were happy with somebody. They were talking about how they were happy with the verse because it was like, then you gotta have that awkward conversation like, nah, nigga, that verse, like, nah, that wasn't it. You know what I'm saying? And niggas don't want to return phone calls. So they were joking, but I'm sure there's some truth to that. Like somebody sends you a verse and then you say you don't like it. Now it's awkward. Just because I said I didn't like your verse, write something else. Like, damn, nigga, I'm putting you on my album. I need you to match the energy. And if I tell you it doesn't, there may be an issue between us. Like, then I don't even want to work with you no more then. You know what I mean?
Right. Niggas don't like to be challenged, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? I only want people in my circle that's going to be challenged and that's going to challenge me. You know what I'm saying? So,
right. But again, that's a good point. I tell people all the time. People always be like, Kill, you want people to agree with me. Nigga, the whole reason I asked Porsche to be my co-host because we never agreed on shit. When we met each other on Twitter 15 years ago, all we did was argue every day. We don't agree on shit. And I was like, I want you to be my co-host because you're going to bring something different to the show. You like a whole bunch of people who I don't like. I want them to still get their shine just because I don't like them. You know what I mean? I don't want nobody who's just a clone of me to be the co-host. I want somebody who's the polar opposite of me to be the co-host. So people who I may not fuck with get their shine. You challenge me, I challenge you. But like you said, most people don't want that no more. But it was funny just hearing that, like, God damn, that's where we at. Like, that the clips could ask you to send a verse, and if they don't like it and ask you to redo it, y'all kind of got beef now on the low. Like, damn, man, like that's crazy to me, man. Like, fuck it, you don't like it, fine, I'll try again. Try this. You don't like that one, fuck it. But again, you know what? This comes back to what you said, Spence. If we were all in the studio together, we probably wouldn't have this problem.
Correct.
Yeah, you just vibing.
But it's because I'm in Compton and you in Virginia. I apologize. They were in Paris, so I'm in LA. You're in Paris, and I'm trying to just float rhymes back and forth with you. It's like, nigga, just let me come out to Paris. Let me just chill with y'all for a couple of days, and let's just bang this out together. Because that, to me, is probably the most frustrating part. Writing a 16, spitting it. Now I got to email it to you. Now I got to wait. Okay, 2 days go by. You ain't like it. Fuck. Got to do it again. Nigga, just go to Paris. Just Tyler, Kendrick, and Nas, I'm sure, can all afford a ticket to Paris. Go to Paris. Go hang out with them niggas in the studio and get the rhyme right. You know what I mean? So I agree with you 100% on that. AG, what you got left? No, I'm sorry, Spence. What you were saying? No,
I mean, because like you in the studio, you bouncing back and forth ideas, trying to come up with something. Say if you want to put a story together, you might have two MCs together. Y'all bouncing off different things together, playing off each other's words. That's that feeling you'll get, and sometimes you get that feeling through hearing it through the music, and that fan feels that energy. Like sometimes when you're shipping stuff, you don't feel that energy. You don't feel that chemistry. You might hit you hear the punching sometimes. Just
I agree 100%. It's the gift and the curse. It was a gift to make it easier, but what did we say earlier? Niggas got lazy. Why fly out to Paris when I could just give you the verse right now? You send me the check and we just call it a day. You know what I'm saying? To me, at the clip, nigga, I'm flying wherever the clip's at. Nigga, you in Antarctica, nigga, let's get this GoFundMe to get killed in Antarctica or whatever, nigga. I want to be in the studio with the clips, dog. I don't care, like, you know what I mean? But it's when you got to that point where niggas going to the studio is like a pain in the ass now. Like, back in the day, if somebody says studio, oh, nigga, I'm there. Then you say studio, oh man, I got my girl over. We talking about going to hit up this fashion show. Oh man, I don't feel like going to the studio. And then that energy comes to the studio because you don't want to be there. You really don't want to rap. And that it's the same way when you come to a meeting. I'm sure y'all can sit around y'all job and be like, this, he don't want to be here. She don't want to be here. The energy is evident of who don't want to be here. It's just fucked up that the thing that you love so much, that put a bag in your pocket and probably opened up other doors for you, you don't show that same love to it no more. You know what I mean? Like, nigga, you ain't.
Oh, go ahead.
No, keep going. I'm saying, like, the bag that the reason you an actor is because of hip hop, nigga. Nobody fucking wanted. You wasn't getting no goddamn acting role without hip hop. And now it's like, now hip hop just your side hoe. Like, that's the fucked up part. You know what I mean? Even though Will never did any good albums after a while, one of them albums he did, he literally took a year off of acting. And I was like, yo, I respect that nigga for that. Like, that nigga was like, yo, I want to lock in on these rhymes. The shit wasn't good, but I respected the concept of it being, you know what? I'm not going to do a movie. I get 20 mil a movie. So I got to respect you saying I'm not going to do a movie this year. I'm not going to get 20 million so I could focus on what I'm doing over here. I remember when Common did an album with No ID, Nobody Smiling. It was supposed to be about all the gang violence in Chicago. And I was like, oh, this should be dope. Yo, these niggas did that shit in California, sending beats back and forth from New York to Cali. Nigga, how you gonna do a song about what's going on in Chicago in fucking LA? No, you know what you gotta do? You and No ID, I get it. No ID was like the president of Def Jam. I know this shit sound crazy. Y'all gonna have to take 2-3 months off, get you a fucking Airbnb in Chicago. Nigga, you need to go to some of these kids' funerals. You need to go to some of these town hall meetings. You need to go to some of the shit that's going on in the city, and then you can rap about that. You can't talk about, nigga, I can't talk about what's going on in Philly, living out here in Waldorf, Maryland. I can't do that shit. If I want to do an album about what's going on in Philly, I gotta go home. You know what I mean? But niggas, guess what? Common making too much money with the music. I mean, with the films out here. No ID, the president over here. Then don't do the album then. How about that? Don't do the album until y'all have the time to do the fucking album.
Yep.
So I can't call it. AG, what you got left, bro?
I just got 2 left. One of them is real simple. It goes to Spencer's point about rappers being in the studio with the producer, but this is rappers being in the studio with other rappers. So I miss posse cuts. You know what I'm saying? Some of the best posse cuts ever were born out of cats just being in the studio vibing with one another, you know? And I think the last great posse cut we got might have been 2013-ish, like One Train off ASAP Rocky's joint. You know what I'm saying? That's the last great posse cut that I could remember. You know what I mean? And then maybe before that, like So Appalled or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like in this modern era, we don't even get posse cuts no more. So that was one. And then my last one is I just miss tangible print and hip hop. You know what I'm saying? I got some classics here real quick. You know what I'm saying? Remember this joint? You know what I mean? Pull these out of the old stores, going in my mom's crib. This is the joint with Nas, the 5 mic blueprint album review, and then got the double XL joint with the Murder Inc. on it, where they had the weapons on the back. You know what I'm saying? These joints is like relic. Like we used to take this joint serious. Like when I was in college, everybody used to come to my room and act like I was the library because they knew, man, AG's going to have the double XL, the Source, the Slam, the King magazine, the Vibe, like anything. He's going to have the magazine. And I had subscriptions to this all back home, but I was that serious. I still bought it because I didn't even want to wait for my subscription back home or my mom to ship them joints to me. I had to buy it on the newsstands and like budget for them joints. And the record reviews came out before the album dropped, so it gave you that anticipation. Nowadays on these like blogs and websites, you know what I'm saying, I'm not going to mention any names, but it's almost like they're hedging their bets because like you said, Kill, social media comes, everybody flocks to Twitter or whatever to give their take on the album. Then the record review comes out 2 weeks later on the website, and it's like they're hedging their bet and just rehashing what they read online or somebody else saying, or they go polar opposite and try to generate clicks by, you know what I'm saying, being like where everybody else is over here on the right, I'm gonna go left, you know what I mean, just to be controversial and get clicks on my record review, versus they were putting their official, you know, the magazine publications were putting their official stamp on a project before we even heard it. You know what I mean? Right. So we built that anticipation off of what their words said. You know what I mean? And not only that, as tangible hip-hop media, like Sean said, we remember ripping the packaging open on the CD, looking at the production credits, the samples that was used, the thank yous and the liner notes. That goes to a lot of the care that was put into albums. Now, nothing, you know, hardly any care at all is putting into curating the album, but not just the music in and of itself, but the presentation of the album was a big deal. So I just missed that tangible element of it, man, because this stuff meant a lot when we was coming up.
I agree with everything. I will say this joint right here had a dope posse cut. Eastern Conference All-Stars. It was Skyzoo, Westside Gun, Conway, Benny, and Elzai. Very dope posse cut right there. Yeah. Sean, what you got left, bro?
No, AG took the one I really want to go with. I was going to say Crew Love, though, more so Crew Love. You know, I remember, you know, I actually remember the days of Crew Love. I'm actually missing those days because you think about The Rock, right? You think about what Jay had in that room with him. He had Beans, he had Freeway, he had, Skinner and Sparks. He had all those guys with him. Nas had, his crew. He was running with AZ, running with Ray, running with Mob D. I just miss the days when we had crews, like dope crews that just, been with each other and curated with each other and inspired one another. We don't have that anymore. It started out as being associates for the most part and be all cool, but then it gets weird. They get weird with each other and they kind of split apart. And again, relationships happen. Things happen. People fall out. But I do miss the days when we had tight crews and crews kind of went up against each other, battled each other. You know what I mean? And everybody kind of kept their own distance from each other because I'm repping with this crew, and that's what I'm staying with. I miss those days.
Yo, you know the wild part, bro? I wonder if that's just because niggas was all broke to some extent. Because when you're thinking about 95, 96, the furthest a nigga gonna move is Jersey. That was it. Like the Woo Mansion was in Jersey, but niggas still in the city every day. You know what I mean? So it's easy where now you look up, and I don't even mean now, but maybe even 10 years from 95, so 2005, Meth may live in Miami, Nas lives in Cali. You know what I mean? So it's almost hard to link up because we ain't together every day like we used to be. Like niggas, we all at the label. So all these niggas at Loud. Can you imagine? I mean, what was it? Mobb Deep, the Alcoholics, Vivid, all the Woo, Dead Prez, Cellar Dwellers. Nigga, we got all just in the Loud building. Or how many times when they were talking about the Rough Rider floor at the Def Jam building or the Rockefeller floor at the Def Jam building. So we all it was almost like being at college. And then after niggas got some money, we graduated and niggas all moved. Like, you know what I mean? So it's almost just like, I wonder with that Crew Love, it's not there just because, niggas ain't around each other no more. And then with Griselda, I never knew if they really did break up. Did they have beef? Conway started his thing, Benny started his thing. Then West Side kind of came with a whole new wave of Rome Streets and Boldy and Stove God as the new Griselda. So even those collaboratives break up and they're related. These are motherfucking actually blood brothers and relatives and cousins and shit. Like, so I wonder because that just was crazy in the 90s. Like you said, you could just be in the studio. Ray, stop by, I'm in the studio. Bet I'm there. You can't say that shit no more because Ray live in Atlanta and Nas live in LA and Ghost live in Jersey. You know what I mean? So it's almost like trying to get with your friends from college. Like you got to literally like make a plan. And I mean, they got money, so they probably don't got to make a plan like we got to make a plan. But you have to like really strategically say, yo, let's hang out type thing versus it being like, yo, we at the Loud office. Like, yo, where you going? You on strip club? All right, come on, fuck it, let's go. You know what I mean? But I'm with you, Sean. I miss them days, man. Because there's some good music that came out of them days, man. Right. Just being in the studio, All right, AG, Sean, tell them about Hip Hop Talk. Where can they get at you? Where can they check y'all out? All that good shit.
Yo, follow us. Hip Hop Talks on Twitter, YouTube. We got so much in store, like so many different concepts, shows, album reviews, the whole nine. Come rock with us. Get on our YouTube content channel. We post content on there as well. Check the notifications for different shows we pull up on. We have a lot. We are part of the family. We're part of the Kill family. The Kill part of our family. Yeah. So check out everything that we're all doing together. And we got some stuff coming in the pipeline. So
all right. AG, where can I get at you? What's y'all Twitters? What's the Hip Hop Talk? Y'all do the personal Johns?
Mine, I'm Adriel Green on Twitter, so that's where you can find me at.
Yeah, mine Jay the Beats on Twitter. I'm not that active on Twitter, but I'm active on the Hip Hop Talks Twitter. I'm not active.
There you go. All right, and Spence, where can they get at you, good brother?
88 Spence everything. IG, Twitter.
All right. And y'all already know what it is with me, Kill 889 Twitter, IG. I always got to shout out a book every week. What book am I shouting out this week? Let's go with The Rap Is Risen by Sue Kwan. Very dope hip hop picture book. You got Biggie on the cover. You just got some great art in here. You got with some good stuff. You got Tip, Pasta Noose, Large Pro, just a dope picture book here. Which you got DOS Effects back in the day on the corners. Just I'm if you come in here, you talk about being in the studio. You got Meth in the studio writing rhymes in the booth. So you know what I mean. You talked about Jay in the studio. Jay right there. You know what I mean. So just a dope book. Cool G rap on the back. You know what I mean. Definitely a joint. Rap is Risen Suquan. Definitely check that out. And I will check y'all next week. Good people, good looking.
All right, peace.
Peace and love.
Peace.